Well, a very good afternoon. Warm welcome back to Cascais in Portugal for the final day of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. Quantum Racing on top, and you would have to say on course for a 6th world title. Joining me in the studio today, a man who knows a lot about world titles. I think 9 laser world titles, Robert Scheidt, and has been having a good time on the Honda. Your owner is unwell, unfortunately, having to miss a couple of races, Robert.
Well, thanks for inviting us to participate in the commentary today. Yes,
Eduardo's not well.
Eduardo, it's nothing serious. He's got a little bit of fever, but yeah, we decided as a team to not compete in the last 2 days. Of course, it's not an ideal way to finish the regatta, but I'm sure we're going to bounce back full strength next month in Portals.
In Portals, indeed. Anyway, thank you for joining us. We're going to watch the scoreboard from yesterday. As I said, Quantum Racing with that 7-point lead at the top of the table from Azura. Azura having a pretty solid regatta all in all, 24 points. Sled, super consistent this season in 3rd, have had 2 podium finishes so far this season. Then Luna Rossa a little bit up and down, but in 4th. Allegre were good at the start of the regatta, then 2 7s yesterday, really not what they wanted, but in 5th. Provezza in 6th, Platoon in 7th, the outgoing world champions, then Phoenix and Honda. So that's the standings as we go into today. Robert, what do you think Quantum have to do? What will Terry Hutchison will be saying to the guys this morning?
Well, I think 7 points is a very good cushion, considering there will be 8 boats out there, and I think they don't have to do anything too aggressive today. I think they're going to try to do a consistent series, keep an eye on Azura and the other guys, but I think the other boats, Azura, Sled, and Luna Rossa and Allegre, they are quite close to each other in points, so it's much harder to risk overtaking Quantum on the points. I would rather be more concerned.
You'd rather be Terry Hutchison today than anyone else.
Yes, for sure. He's in a pretty comfortable situation. Indeed.
Anyway, let's have a look at yesterday's highlights. We had 2 great races in pretty strong breezes and some very fast downwinds. Day 4 of 5 at the Rolex TP52 World Championship, and we kicked off the day with our ambassadors meeting. Our sustainability ambassadors meet every regatta, and what's nice is to see some new initiatives coming from the ambassadors.
We built basically a portable water filter system, so we can fill up water bottles or fill up a water tank in your rib, which you can then use to fill your water bottles. And it's a pretty simple filter, 2-part filter, a particulate filter and then a UV filter. It's got its own battery source, and we hook it up to the water source on the dock. And then we have a quick connect to fill up our water bottles, or a quick connect to be able to fill up our water bladder. Cleans our water. Our goal in the whole system is to make it easier to use water from the dock than to go out and buy plastic water bottles.
And it's a breezy morning here in Cascais. The forecast is fantastic for the penultimate day of racing, and it may just be on the limit. The wind's fresh rather than frightening for race number 6. Gets away in a good breeze. Azura make the best start down towards the pin end of the line. Nice timing, but it's not super conclusive early on the first beat. But they do gain on the left, get across to the right and lead Sled round the top mark. And down the run, Luna Rossa make a nice gain, getting up from 5th early on to 3rd. But at the finish line, it's Azura. Very, very close between 2nd and 3rd. Sled gets 2nd, Luna Rossa 3rd, Provezza 4th, and Quantum Racing in 5th. Actually, for the second race of the day, it's close to the limit. There's 23 knots of wind on the start line. Down at the left end of the line, Luna Rossa, Quantum Racing, Platoon all line up, bow to bow, the whole fleet bow to bow in fact in the top mark. Quantum Racing lead round with Luna Rossa 2nd. Down the run, Platoon jibe set and brake to go left and cross in front of Quantum Racing to lead through the gate. Sled get up from 8th to 3rd, and then up the 2nd beat. Quantum Racing get to the left of Platoon and control Platoon round the top mark. So Quantum Racing win with Platoon 2nd, Sled are 3rd, and Luna Rossa 4th.
Was definitely on the limit and occasionally a little bit of past the limit, but that was exciting, no doubts about it. It was some great rides downwind.
feel like another missed opportunity because after a good first race where we decided to take the bias of the pin, we missed a couple of opportunities in the second one. One more day, I think we are still second overall and many things can happen.
No. No lead is comfortable. We have to go out and apply the same focus and determination, and it's a matter of making sure that our boat handling is consistent and hike like there's no tomorrow.
So the scores on the doors going into the final day. Quantum Racing lead on 17 points, Azura second on 24 points, and Sled third on 28. Well, that was one of the most exciting days in the history of the Rolex TP52 World Championships. Big breeze, big waves, close to the edge. Well, there you go. That was yesterday evening's crew party, but the action is on the water today. Robert, you had the opportunity to watch racing from the land, see a little more analysis of what was going on. What did you see in terms of the race course? It was much more open yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, the first 3 days of the regatta, we had a one-sided track. Basically, you had to start at the weather end, tack, go all the way to the ley line, and you'll make a gain. Even if you don't have a great start, but if you're first to pour, you're going to have a shot at rounding the top 3 at the top mark. And yesterday was completely different. Yesterday, the guys had a good start, went straight. They were able to cross the boats that came from the right. So it's sailing, you know. You cannot take things for granted. And I think the key thing yesterday was the course was farther offshore, so we didn't have the right twist from the land, and that changed the scenario quite a lot.
Just tell me a little bit, as a team, what kind of homework do you do before you come to a venue like this?
Well, I have personally sailed here in Cascais many times, so we knew that if we had the northerly breeze, we would have to fight to go to the right side of the course.
Over the years, have you logged data from here, or do you just remember it in your head?
No, I kind of remember in my head, but I think in the morning briefings we could see that the breeze was had a twist of 10 or 15 degrees from the bottom to the top of the course, and that just assures you that you're taking the right decisions, and it just puts into numbers that the feel that you're having with your eyes.
So we spoke this morning with Francesco Mongelli, who's a navigator on board on the Luna Rossa, and he gave us a fairly comprehensive picture for the weather and also a little bit of analysis of how the Luna Rossa have gone this season so far.
As we saw all this week, we have a north gradient filling all the day, and then in the afternoon the warming up of the inshore is helping the breeze to pick up to 25-27 knots. That is the wind we saw yesterday particularly, and that's the reason because we're trying to race early in the morning. And so it's going to be similar and a nice day.
How's it going with the Luna Rossa team in the big breeze?
I think we need, we're doing better. It's the first time we sail all together with this kind of breeze. So even if we have personal individual experiences, at the end it needs to work together to get the right feeling with the boat and the wind and the waves.
So what's the kind of debrief in terms of improving the crew work in the big breeze?
Is a lot of understand if we are fast or not, then see who is faster than us to understand how do they drive the boat basically and manage the boat, and then we try to understand if it's applicable to us or not.
Francesco Mongelli, the young navigator on the Luna Rossa, who joined us in Croatia, if you remember, was in the hot seat as a co-commentator then, and he's just talking about the weather for the day and a little bit about the reliability. Now, Robert, what do you have to do as a team to improve your standing in the circuit? It's been in your first year. It's been a little bit up and down. You started quite well in the first regatta, and then it's been kind of up and down.
Yeah, we are a new team, so we knew it was going to be tough for us. This is the highest level of Grand Prix racing that you get in the world. So we had a realistic goal for the season, which was to improve and get better. We had a surprisingly good result in Sibenic, but we have to keep working. I mean, the starting box and the procedures of the starts and how to kill time in the best way and the final acceleration. These are the things that counts a lot on this kind of
That's where the experience, where the teams who've done this for 10 years, that's
yes,
where it really,
exactly.
really counts, doesn't it?
So if you have a good start, you dealt a good card, and you can from then on work on a good race. But if you're on a back foot in the beginning of the race, and it makes it significantly harder. And other things also, we have always to improve a little bit here and there with the maneuvers, with the way we communicate in the boat, and the sail trim. So it's quite a complex puzzle. But I think we're in the right track. We knew this venue wouldn't suit us so well because it's a windy venue, and it was the first day that we sailed on 25 knots on Tuesday. And for sure, this experience will make us a lot stronger for the next events.
And as I say, yesterday you watched the races together as a crew. Did you pick up anything, any small detail that you could see that the top teams are doing in terms of manoeuvres or processes? Yeah, there were many things that we could see from the outside, how hard the top boats are pushing, they're hiking maximum the whole time, and their hoist, the drops, and the way they're trimming the sails, and the pre-start procedure. There's many things we can always learn by going out there. Indeed, so it wasn't wasted days. Anyway, the team were behind the scenes with the 52 Super Series and their crews. The shore teams work extremely hard. It's like the Formula One pit crews. They keep the show on the road, and we got a little bit of an insight this morning with some of the top guys, just how hard they're working to keep the reliability up. Just to introduce us to your shore team, how many guys you have and what they all do.
So we have a boat builder, Clive, and he looks after all the boat building and composite side of things. Then we have a rigger, Sean, who does all the takes care of all the running rigging and systems. And then we've Lance, who's engineer, whose primary role is systems, winches, and keeps all those up and running.
And yourself?
And myself, then I'm just trying to keep on top of everything.
What's been the biggest challenge this season so far?
I guess coming here to Cascais and all this big breeze and keeping the water out of the boats and making sure the electronics are running properly and all the gears working together, it's been a pretty stressful regatta. What's
the biggest jobs you've had to do this season?
Well, we have a lot of jobs during the season, but this season we have prepared a lot for the strong conditions of this wind of Cascais, a strong wind. So we had to do some modifications, and we had a little bit of work to do.
How are you feeling at this stage in the season personally?
Got a bit of a sick feeling in my stomach actually still at the moment. It hasn't been much fun this regatta for the shore team. We've worked some pretty late nights, and it's just, the guys go out in the water. There's big high loads on everything, a lot of water jumping around the place. So lots to go wrong, and it does go wrong, especially with a new boat. So yeah, it's just stressful, and we worry about the guys on the water and whether we've got it right or not, whether it's our fault they've had a problem. Whether the boat's quick or slow because of something we haven't done quite right. It's you're out there sailing on the water and you're with them in your mind as we watch you guys put the TV across to us, in the containers. That's why I answer your questions. It's like we're watching every moment. Why has this gone wrong? Why hasn't that got right? So,
is there any rivalry between the shore teams?
I guess there is. Everybody wants to have their boat the best prepared and most reliable.
So that's the shore team, Guy Barron there from Prevets, really just showing how much they care, and they were kind of showing his heart and his sleeve for the team. Robert, it really is a team game though, isn't it? It's not just about you guys who are on the water.
Yeah, of course. There's a complex boats, and they're quite fragile as well. They're built in the limit, so it's important. The maintenance is key. So there is a procedure after racing to check the equipment, to pack the sails, to make sure everything's ready for the next morning. So if you have more people, you're going to save your sailing crew a little bit from this job. If you have less people, then the sailing crew will be involved in more jobs of the racing.
Your guys are doing a good job, are they?
Yeah, our guys are doing a great job.
I mean, say that.
we have a very good atmosphere in our group.
Excellent. We're going to go on the water, look first of all at the race course. Say we're going to try and get 2 windward leewards in with the breeze that we have. There shouldn't be too many problems with that. As ever, the 3 o'clock cut off in the afternoon on the last day, but we're doing straight windward leewards, which we're all well practiced on. Any thoughts on this course area, Robert? It's fairly standard by the looks of things, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fairly standard. Last day of the regatta, so I think the teams are going to be looking at the points, and they'll be more concerned of who they can catch up, who they have to watch for not losing. And so it's going to be a little bit different. The boats who are behind are going to take a little bit more risk, and we'll see what the breeze is going to do today. If it's going to be a normal northerly wind, which you have to go to the right.
Looks quite breezy though, isn't it? And we're at 1:45 just now. Hopefully we can join Jenny Tulloch on the water. Jenny?
Hi guys, it is definitely just picking up. We got out here, it was about 16 knots, about 10 minutes before the race course. It probably built 18 to 20, and I think that might mean we see some of the teams caught out. We can tell Azura's got a much smaller jib up than a lot of the other teams, but I think some of the guys here, are just right in the mix of it on the upper end, obviously start line getting crowded at the moment, but everyone fighting hard. Quantum already up on the line, maybe a little bit too soon with only a minute to go, but as we know, they got a little bit of distance on the point score behind them, and it's Azura coming in, possibly going to leave out Quantum here. So I think, like Robert Scheidt said, people aren't thinking the right's necessarily going to pay early in this race course.
That's right, and I think as Robert also said, it's about your main rivals. You want to try and put some points on them if possible, or in some cases perhaps hold them back. We've obviously got 2 races to go, and we're at 45 seconds. Any thoughts, Robert, on how we're shaping up on this on the start line?
Yeah, it looks like most of the fleet is working for a middle or leeward end start, so the windward end's quite free at the moment. We'll see. It's a lot of fight between Azura, Quantum. They look a bit early, and I think
Luna Rossa lining up for the pin end of the group anyway, the left end of the group. Jenny, it's 30 seconds. Carry on.
You know, it's 20 seconds to go here. Quantum did a double tack up, which has put them right in front of the rest of the fleet. They are really close to this line, pushing hard, but down at the bottom is Prada, Luna Rossa, Allegre, and Azura going for it, and there's only 5 seconds to go. I don't think anyone will be over. It looks like maybe it's going to be the leewardmost boat here, just pinching off Luna Rossa, going to have a really nice start. Above them, Azura cleanly off the line, and Quantum Racing's fallen into platoon already. So we know after yesterday they can hang in a really tight group, but not a perfect start necessarily for Quantum. I would say, oh, the big pressure is on here for Provenza. They're not laying the pin and having to tack out and duck the fleet. Let's see if they can ease their main enough to get a big duck off here. I mean, this is dangerous times for Provenza, but they're pulling it off, just ducking Allegre and getting their bow up. So it was Sled who I was miscalling as Allegre earlier with a great start at the pin. I'm not sure who you guys see leading as virtual, but Quantum's having to tack out soon.
Yeah, it's pretty close there, but certainly Luna Rossa got themselves into some bit of a problem there, Robert, didn't they?
Yeah, Luna Rossa was looking good, but got hooked by Sled before the start. So that's a really tough place to be now, and it's stuck in the middle of the fleet. Doesn't have a very clear lane, but I think Azura really did a really good job at the start, and is looking really good at the moment.
So too our Sled down in the front of our picture, the foreground, coming off the pin, and Allegre started in that pin several times, but they're a little bit further back on the same line as Sled. And Quantum going off to the right fairly early.
Yeah, I'm really quite surprised that Azura is keeping going, keeps going left, pinning Sled stack. They must see something on the left, otherwise he would have already tacked and crossed in front of platoon. We'll see how things are going to shape up, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a must-win ride.
No, that's right. And Phoenix, meantime, was one of the first to tack off, I think. Platoon still a little bit deep underneath Provenza. And there go Sled tacking onto port. Jenny.
You know, the only thing that we can see out here that's maybe the reason for this left is when the big breeze came down about 10 minutes ago, it came down easily and hard on the left first, and then it filled sort of across the course. And right now we're kind of in the middle of the course, actually directly in line with Quantum Racing, but it is much lighter over here on the bottom right, and I think maybe that's the thought process behind us.
Yeah.
Going a touch further into that left corner. It's where when the breeze comes down, it's where it's filling first, and then all of a sudden now I'm in the puff again on the right side. But there's moments here on this right side where they're not seeing that pressure that maybe they've been able to stay in the whole time on the bus.
Absolutely, that's what Terry Hutchison was talking about in the first race yesterday. He said they ended up in the light patch in the middle of the course in the first race. And so I think it's trying to avoid that. You really do have to be out in the left to get the early pressure. That's working just now for Sled and Azura. And Quantum, Robert, not looking so good.
Yeah, they're not looking so good at the moment, but we have a few minutes of a port tack now, and it could be that we got a little bit of a righty and they come back strong on starboard. So we gotta wait and see. But at the moment, Sled is controlling the race from this position.
You know, we all know Terry likes to kick himself, and I think that sort of 2 minutes that he's been sitting here in lighter breeze, he'll be kicking himself for that comment that he told you about how there's lighter in the middle right and he shouldn't be in it. It was just, they put themselves in such a weird spot in the starting line, early to the
very
line
forward,
with the whole
weren't they?
fleet
Yeah.
behind them. Yeah, they didn't have a runway. They kind of had to double tack.
Oh, sorry, just losing Jenny there. She was just saying that they put themselves a little bit of a weird spot on the start line, Robert. They were well forward and showing the intentions, as it were, and also a little bit down speed off the line.
Yeah, it's really difficult if you have a lot of time to kill and you're very close to the line. Basically, you're gonna have to reach off. You know, you're gonna have to. If you have a gap, you're gonna have to go down, and then you don't have the space to accelerate later. You're going to be too close to the boats to leeward, or you're going to have to do a double tack with not much time to the start. So it's a tough spot because with this wind also the boats keep moving. You know, it's very hard to kill time.
So we're on board with Platoon. Better day for them yesterday, but really not been the regatta that Harmuller-Speer wanted as world champions, but it's a very different venue to Scarlino, where they won the Worlds last year. Light winds in Tuscany, and here it's a venue which is proven to be on the edge a good bit of the time, and certainly today it's pretty breezy. But we're liking Sled's position, Robert, aren't we?
Yeah, Sled and Azura, they're looking quite strong at the moment. You know, they're protecting the free to their right, and you know, if the breeze go right, they can still tack in front of the boats. If the breeze go left, they will gain on the boats to leeward. So it's yeah, Sled and Azura did a great job at the start. But it's a long race and it's a windy race, and you know, lots of things can still happen in the downing.
Absolutely, and I think we're expecting the breeze to get up for the second race, and certainly over 20 just now, I would say. A few words about Sled, though. They have been very consistent this season, haven't they? They've quietly gone about their business, haven't they?
Yeah, Sled has been extremely impressive. You know, they're good in all conditions. They're very fast, and they also starting really well. So it's a very strong team at the moment, and yeah,
they certainly seem to back themselves in terms of the decisions they make. They're not afraid to do their own thing, and we've seen that a few times. And certainly coming off the pin that time, that seems to be working for them just now. Just looking at...
yeah, and Azura seems to have a very good pace on the stronger wind.
Yeah.
Also, it showed this regatta, you know, it is a big comeback from Azura, this regatta. They show they're back into top form. And
I think
yeah.
it's certainly been good for Santi Lange, hasn't it? He's been beating himself up quite a bit about the performance through the first two regattas.
Yes, and this puts a little bit of pressure on Quantum now.
Yeah.
Quantum has to do something, has to catch up. You know, you don't want to lose too many points in the first race of the day to put you into pressure for the second one. But yeah.
Just on that, Robert, what's it like for Santi just now, trying to do an Olympic program and this at the same time? Pretty hard.
Yeah, it's pretty hard, but I think, you know, Santi has so much experience in the NACRA, and he can put a lot of effort in the year before the Olympics, and he will be up there like he did the last time. So I think he's managing his time pretty well now. He's doing both programs, and I'm sure that the year before he will focus only on the Olympic Games. And
he's pretty fit though, isn't he, for 57?
Yeah, he's pretty fit, and what a great thing to go to the Olympics with your both sons who are sailing for the Niners. So
of course.
What else do you want? So it's a big motivation for him to join his kids at the games.
So we're looking at Quantum having tacked out just now. Phoenix carrying on. We just seem to have lost the tracking data, unfortunately, for Quantum. We have had one or two problems with interference, but we can see them. So yeah, just watching Azura should. What will Azura do with Quantum here?
Well, it depends a lot on between him and Sled, you know,
Yeah.
because if Sled has a strong libao on Azura, then it's really tough, because if he tacks on Quantum, he knows that Sled is going to tack on him. Then he might think about continuing and waiting for Sled to tack and then tack. So it's all about taking a bearing on the boat to windward and deciding if you tack, the other boat's going to be strong on you or not.
And meantime, Phoenix in quite a nice position as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty curious on how they are related to the ley line. They must be pretty close to the ley line. And this is where a lot of decisions come to play. Do you tack 30 seconds before the ley line and make 2 tacks closer to the mark, or do you go all the way to the ley line and save 2 tacks? These are big calls to make, and it's sometimes.
And is there a pattern that you see in terms of the different tacticians generally in the fleet, and you can be second guessing? Right, Terry will do this, and Ray Davis will do this. And
yeah, I think
for example, Ed Baird quite likes to get to the ley line and protect it, and sometimes that's a bit of an owner-driver thing, isn't it?
Yes, if you are more conservative, you want to save tacks, you would go to the ley line early, but then, you know, somebody can tack on you and really hurt you. Yeah. If you are more you know, confident with your tacks, that you can really do 2 tacks and not lose a lot, and slam into a tight ley line and survive in a tight ley line, then you push for the 1-2 at the end. But it's all about keeping in mind this little puzzle that it's happening, and keep an eye on the other boats, and if you're gaining, if you're losing, and if the other boat's going to libao you or not.
So just watching Quantum, they're ducking behind Phoenix, so they're in a tough spot just now, aren't they?
Yeah, but I'm surprised that with the start that they had, they're, you know, in the tracker, they're mid-fleet at the moment. So it's not looking too bad, you know. Yeah. If they keep the game close, you know, it's all to play on the run.
And what have we seen down the runs in terms of patterns generally?
Well, it's also a big decision to jibe set or to go straight. I think. Like we seen yesterday, there was more pressure offshore, so most teams went straight, but the other days the jibe set worked pretty well. It also depends on where you are in the fleet. If you are leading the fleet and you jibe set, you're going to go through the bad air of all the boats on the offset leg.
And it's a more difficult maneuver, isn't it?
That's the more difficult maneuver as well, whereas if you're behind in the fleet, a jibe set could work well for you.
And again, that's one of the things that the more experienced teams take into account, that they can do it, whereas the less experienced teams maybe just you know, their first jibe sets in this kind of breeze at this regatta. So it's all part of the equation. But Azura looking pretty good just now on sled, aren't they?
Yeah, they're looking good. The question is there, if they tack, will sled have a strong libao on them? That's the key thing, because if they were going to wait for sled to tack and then tack.
Just seeming to have one or two little problems with the trackers on Quantum and Luna Rossa a little bit. Prevets have a little bit of an up and down season so far this year, Robert, haven't they? As a team which won in Portals last year. I wonder whether they can raise their game to do that next month.
Yeah, they have their moments.
Yeah, completely.
I think they can win races. It's pretty tough to be consistent in this fleet. I mean, as a team, you know, that didn't do the first regatta in Palma. You know, the first regatta was Sibenic, so they're still learning about their boat. They're still learning about the sails, and it takes time. But you know, they're getting better day by day.
In general, any observations in the different relative speeds between the Botines and the ROLEX designs?
Well, I feel that the Botines were pretty strong on the upper wind range in this regatta. I mean, I guess Quantum had a little bit on an edge on the rest of the teams, but Azura looked pretty solid as well. Luna Rossa looked pretty solid, and Sled as well. So can't say the Botines were slow.
Certainly not. But Azura with the box seat just now, as you say, just tacking below ley line.
Yeah, Azura waited for Sled to tack and then tacked. So that's a good move, you know, because you now you have a lot of control in the race, because you can do 2 tacks and find the ley line later. So if the wind lifts, you're going to get closer to the ley line. If the wind heads, you're going to tack and make a gain. So that's a pretty good spot. But I'm quite surprised also how Quantum bounced back from the start they had.
Not uncharacteristic, though. They do seem to be one of the teams that managed to, as Terry says, keep chipping away, keep pushing, keep taking places, and then. Yeah,
I know the minor details, you know, in every kind of maneuver, every kind of situation, they make little gains all over the course, and that's what wins regattas.
So did we see Azura with a smaller head sail, as Jenny said? Certainly different.
Azura looks like they have the code 4.
Yeah. Not hurting them at all, really, is it?
No, not at all. Looks like different than Sled, probably carrying the 3.
3, yeah. What's the secret to keeping these boats going in the bigger waves?
Well, I think
upwind,
upwind, you know, constant trimming, you know, a good concentration from the driver, you know, to keep the heel, keep the rudder angles, keep the load on the helm consistent, and and then concentrating in the waves, especially in the tacks. It's really important that you pick
your moment,
your moment to tack. You know, that makes a huge difference. And
so in your position, you're calling that to Eduardo?
Well, I call...
You leave him, and you just say, I want to tack?
I usually prefer to leave him to pick the time to tack, because he has the helm, so he has the feeling of the right moment. I just call when I want to tack, and then he picks the final moment.
And he's got a good feel for the boat?
Yeah, excellent. I mean, Eduardo is a very experienced sailor, did two Olympic Games, and so much experience in big boats, and yeah, he's an excellent driver.
And talk to me a little bit about the kind of management of expectations. You guys are all winners in your DNA, if you like, but it must be pretty tough to come to a regatta like this and be in the lower ranks.
Yeah, of course. We're all athletes, you know, we're competitive. We want to win, we want to do our best, but this is a process. I mean, there are many pieces of a big puzzle, and we have to understand that it takes time, it takes a lot of effort, it takes learning from mistakes. Yeah, but I think we're hugely motivated, and yeah, now it comes to a decisive part of the beat. It looks like Azura is going to slam attack here. Yeah, finding their place probably for the ley line. Yeah.
Likewise, just behind Luna Rossa having to tack off.
Yeah.
From underneath sled. Prevets it up in fourth just now.
Yeah, Luna Rossa is gonna have to do the 1-2 at the end. You know, Vasco.
Not unusual for Vasco.
Vasco likes to do that kind of move. They usually do well there.
What's the advantage of that from Luna Rossa's point of view?
Well, everybody on the ley line are hurting each other, so they're giving bad air to each other.
So you've had a clear lane.
But this time they didn't go for it. It was too thin, the ley line, so they preferred to go behind and tack. And they found that then it's the key to find a hole there, because if it's pretty stacked, then you have to do it behind everybody. Then it's a big loss. So it's a lot of risk reward at this moment. You can gain a lot by doing the tack near the mark, but you can also lose a lot.
Quantum have had to sail quite far there, haven't they?
Yeah.
So Jenny, we're just looking at Azura leading into the mark.
You know, Azura is doing absolutely everything they can, which is to win the race and hope that things fall their way behind them with Quantum Racing. And in a lot of ways, that's exactly what's happening in Azura. I mean, we called it before the race. They're the ones that went to the smallest jib earliest. They thought maybe it'll just keep building and we'll be able to execute. And they also had a great start at the 10. So well done to this team for settling after what was not a best race yesterday and to get back, turn it around and be on fire at the beginning of the race. This is awesome. Then behind them, Phoenix, another team we haven't really seen at the top of the leaderboard so far this week, but we know Hasselblander's been enjoying himself here. His daughter team has been envious of getting to sail in these glorious conditions, watching from the coach boat every day, and they're really loving it. Then in third place, Sled, another team who needs to do as much as they can to stay atop the leaderboard, both for this regatta and for the overall series, as they're sitting second in the series. In fourth place here, Provenza. So good race for them as well. They've been down the lead a little bit, but they've often are up at the top and then fall back through the pack. Behind Provenza, Luna Rossa, and then as you guys were just talking about, Quantum Racing, a little very tight battle between those two. And then bringing up the rear is Phoenix and Allegre, Platoon and Allegre. Not a great race, but wow, was that an interesting upwind for Quantum Racing there. We were right in the mix of it when we were having a little bit of technical problems with me, but Quantum Racing, I didn't think they had many chinks in their armor, and all of a sudden, going for a dump, they slammed into a tack instead, and I'm not sure if it was a miscommunication for once between Dean and Terry, or if it was some problem with easing the mainsail and they couldn't actually bear away anymore. It was clearly they were halfway through a bearaway and they rolled into a slam tack instead, and you could see, I mean, Dean Barker is normally a very, very calm person, and his face was full of, it wasn't anger, it was like disappointment and
frustration,
and annoyance all at once. So yeah, it was an interesting scenario. We'll have to figure out what that was.
So meantime, down the run, we saw Luna Rossa jibing off early, but otherwise straight downhill for Azura and Phoenix. Thinking a little bit more pressure offshore still, Robert.
Yeah, well, I think they're doing quite safely. Straight set, easy maneuver. They're not going all the way to the ley line, so middle of the course, they can pick the time to go back to the gate and then pick their gate. So we'll see. One boat went early there to the other side.
I think it's Luna Rossa. I'm not sure.
Luna Rossa, yeah. There is a big possibility of gain on the other side.
Yeah, we saw that yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah.
That was where Sled came down from 8th to lead the race in the second race, wasn't it? Indeed, there we are.
Yesterday, second race, yeah. They were really proud of that one. That was a phenomenal downwind. Azura here so Phoenix and Azura jibed at the front of the pack, and Azura had a pretty horrible jibe. It was about 4 big spinnaker left before they got their kite filled, and Phoenix had a glorious jibe. So I think we've got to watch to see if Phoenix is actually going to be able to get on the air of Azura now. They gained about a bowling, 2 bowlings forward, and they're in a very strong, powerful position to attack Azura. It's a beautiful setup on port jibe here for these waves. I mean, they are really surfing huge swell today, and again, as we said other days, you can gain 3 bowlings in one big, long surf, and I think Azura, now that they're up and running, is actually probably doing a slightly better job.
Meantime, Sled sticking with this right side, Robert.
Yeah, Sled went the farthest to the right. Probably they're feeling the pressure. They're feeling that the boat's moving well, so they delay the jibe. I'm interested how Quantum is doing, because they're not showing them on the virtual here. So we're not quite sure how Quantum Racing is doing. Jenny, if you can update us.
Yeah,
just under.
I'm looking for their psychedelic sails because from downwind of them, it's quite hard. Everyone's got their white sails, and when they have lighter, they have their Amway center out. But today, they're directly on our stern. So if you could see Preveza in your eye on the virtual eye, to windward of Preveza, there's 2 boats, and the leewardmost boat of those 2 is Quantum Racing. So I think outside of them is maybe Allegre, bound 19. So they're just underneath by 2 or 3 boat lengths. They're underneath Allegre and about a boat length bound forward.
Right.
Okay, that they're still quite close to the boat, so a lot to play for. And yeah, the key here is the true wind direction. You know, if Luna Rossa will come back on a more lefty face, they can make a gain. If the wind at the bottom will come more from the right side looking up, then Sled is going to make a gain.
I guess that's the point here. Luna Rossa is coming back in, and that moment of truth between them and Quantum Racing is happening soon. Those 2 boats were rounding almost bow to stern with Luna Rossa leading at the top mark. So they went for the early jibe. In about another 10 seconds will be the cross with Quantum. To me, at the moment, it looks like Luna Rossa's made a small gain out of it. So Allegre behind has jibed and has just crossed the stern of Quantum. And Luna Rossa is now crossing the bow of Quantum by about 2 boat lengths probably. So only a small gain, only a 1 boat length gain, but a gain to them on the inside.
Certainly just in that shot, though, Quantum Racing moving very quickly on some quite strong pressure. Just looking at another little bit of a hairy jibe for Azzurra. They've got a pretty solid lead though there, don't they? Over 130 metres. Yeah, jibing onto the pressure, the bow lifts, and away we go.
Yeah, it looks
funny. We're in this corner between Azzurra and Quantum, and it feels exactly like it did on the upwind. That this bottom right does not have as much pressure as we are feeling up the course, and I think that might mean we'll see gains to. I can't see my eye, but I think it's Sled out there. So yeah, it just feels like we're in less breeze here, and all these boats have gotten to this point and they've jibed out because it is very much clearly to us less breeze out here. And I wonder if Sled's going to come back in and make a big gain here. At least on Phoenix, they should, even if they can't get to Azzurra. Azzurra looks like they've extended on Phoenix big time.
Certainly, it's even on virtual just now, but Sled were moving quicker in our picture just now. They've just got a little bit of a lull momentarily. And behind them, Luna Rossa moving well. Quantum slowed momentarily, and then going through the back of the picture, I think that's Platoon. But it's going to be quite busy at this. Yeah, go on, Jen.
So much for saying Sled made gains. Prevenza's actually just come through on starboard. They were in 4th at the top mark, and Sled was in 3rd, and they've crossed in front of the bow of Sled, and Sled jibed on top with not a great jibe. Sort of tried to face Luna Rossa, and I think actually Luna Rossa is going to roll them. So while they might have looked good, the angle must not have been good because they've come back in about 4th position, and they're definitely getting rolled as we speak by Luna Rossa. So apologies for calling that wrong with Sled, you guys. It doesn't look like it actually worked out well in the end.
No, I think they were coming back in pressure, and they just got into lighter patch momentarily.
Yeah, I'm quite impressed with Azzurra. Azzurra did a massive gain. They just, they were quite close to Phoenix at the top mark, and
they're gone.
Now they're gone, So they really managed to jibe at the right time, come back to the fleet and then jibe underneath the fleet, and now they're free with a lot of pressure, and all the boats are quite compressed at the moment.
Yeah, a good job from Preveza though as well, getting up to 2nd from 4th.
The only other dark horse here might be Platoon, who's kind of back left of the pack. They're out in nowhere land, but they have breeze and they have a really good angle on the rest of the pack. And the rest of the pack is, as Robert was saying, so condensed. There's going to be a lot of sketchy jibes at this bottom. I don't know who's going to come out of it. But Preveza at the moment looks like they've sailed through the whole fleet over the top of Phoenix, pushed Phoenix out the back, but maybe Platoon will be able to spit some guys right at the end.
Great shots though, but Azzurra, no mistaking the leader coming through the gate. Safe drop for them, bow number 1, the Super Series champions, twice world champions, and really taking it to Quantum Racing just now, coming through the gate.
I think this gate's going to be quite decisive for the outcome of the race. Boats are very compressed, and if you're able to, do a good drop and have a clear lane off the gate, that makes a big difference in your whole second upwind.
So Jenny, talk us through the gate. We've just seen Azura free and clear upwind.
If you're seeing Azura, where you might be seeing us directly behind them, getting into our position at the bottom marks, but Azura just turned that into a commanding lead. Behind them, the battle is on, and it is Platoon who just made it all the way through from 9th place to 2nd. I mean, that was a phenomenal back alley exit from the course, but that was spectacular. I'm going to actually scoot away from Miguel here and let him do his job because he's calling some overlaps quickly. So Platoon making it through, and on the far side, Quantum Racing sneaking in. So Quantum will be very happy to have pulled out that downwind. Look how close it is behind him. I can't even see boats. I'm going to start breathing really heavily here. Okay, Preventa on our side, Quantum on the far side, Phoenix on the outside, Quantum, sled just on Quantum's stern, inside of Preventa, trying to sneak in there. Luna Rosa is sneaking in there, and we are busting forward on the committee boat to see if there's any flags here. Sorry, on the umpire boat. And far side behind Phoenix, Allegra. So that was a lot of boats in a very short period of time, and the big, huge winners there were Platoon just
Quantum
really going beautifully downwind, and then Quantum, of course, just kind of making their way through that pack. They were in the mix, and they just managed to sneak it out right at the end. I think that was a phenomenal job.
And Prevent's having a problem once again with their kite. Pretty much having to negate any gain they made down that run. Kite is over the bow.
Yeah, we'll have to see what happened, but usually when the retriever, the string line doesn't work, you have to call a manual drop, and sometimes
that's not easy.
That's not easy, and the call is late because you're counting on the retriever. And
you seem to have a bit of kite in the water as well.
Yeah. That's quite hard. It can rip your kite. There's a lot of load on the kite now. They can lose the sail. Yeah. Quite impressed with Platoon on this run. They were far, They went for a jibe and went in. And I think the other boats, they were sailing close together, so they end up disturbing each other there. Platoon was free, one jibe in, and made a huge gain.
So I spoke at the coffee table again with Platoon this morning. Seems like they're drinking a lot of coffee this week. But say again?
I said you are their
mentor. Maybe I'm drinking too much coffee. I'm getting overexcited. But this morning it was Ross Hallcrow, and I asked him how Hasso was feeling. I mean, I think it's probably going to be disappointing, of course, to be reigning world champions from last summer and to be not even on the podium or reaching for the podium this week. And he said, he's doing great. I'm actually surprised with how good he's doing. He's keeping in mind now this series, and that's what we're thinking about it. We were sitting with Ray Davies. I came and sat with the two of them, so I thought that was funny. He said, we're just making sure we don't bleed too many more points to you guys. And I think just to see that turn around, to see the cool, calm-headedness of that team. They've done that twice now this week to go from 9th to 2nd. And last time that they did that, they did on the upside. Of course, it was the left side looking upwind, right side looking downwind. But they're not afraid to take a little bit of a flyer if it gets them clear of all the rest of the boats. And even in this much breeze, the data on the downwind matters, and we can see that there. The whole fleet got congested, and they just got free and were able to run free with it. And I thought that was awesome.
So a good recovery as well, Robert, from Quantum down that run. Keeps them absolutely in contention. Did not look so good at the top mark.
Yeah, but Quantum did an amazing job. They were compressed in the middle of many boats, and they were still, able to round in a decent place, going right. They have a clear lane, so everything working well. It didn't look good, but they were able to really come back in this race.
So they were third through the leeward gate, and they're working out to the right.
I think the bummer for Azura there is looking back and seeing that happen. I mean, no matter how big your lead is, you'd rather be one half of a foot in first place if Quantum's still in 8th or 9th, rather than a huge lead for first and seeing Quantum move all the way up to 3rd. I mean, that was such a stellar kind of, it was only the bottom quarter for Quantum to actually be able to kind of get away from the pack and get out there. And for Azura, there's nothing they could do except to see it happen and know that their 7-point cushion for Quantum is only going to be about 5 points if they stay in this 3rd place. So we should still expect a second race this afternoon, and as we've seen now, anything can happen anywhere on the race course, both up and down. So anything can happen. I'll throw that out there.
So just to clarify, we're just losing Quantum sometimes on the tracker, and obviously that prediction there with Azura leading the regatta. Well, at the present moment with Quantum in 3rd, Quantum would still be leading by 4 points going into the final race, and that's largely by virtue of that come from behind run. There we go, Quantum regatta leader still. But a key result also for Azura. There's nothing much more they can do than win the race, is there, Robert?
Yeah, of course. It comes to a point that you can do only
as much as you can, and later you think about maths. But yeah, they did a superb job, and yeah, we'll see what happens with Quantum. But yeah, if they can get a few points, reduce that margin to put a little bit of pressure on the last race. Yeah. Question for us, Robert, coming in from Instagram, asking about the code 3 or code 4 in these conditions. Somebody saying that Azura looked quick with a little bit more main power and less head sail. Your thoughts?
Yeah. Sometimes you have less backwind on the main with the code 4. Yeah, it's a flatter and a smaller jib, so it will be easier to drive the boat. And it looks like it's not hurting them at all. It's been quite good, and they were the outlier. They went for a jib that nobody went, so they took a risk, and they were right.
So another mechanical or process failure for Provezza, unfortunately drops him. Once again, it's heartbreaking for them because they had just made that recovery and not able to make it stick. But also credit to Platoon, did their own thing down that run and it's worked for them. So Jenny, are you seeing any opportunities up this beat, or is it pretty much played out, do you think?
Well, at the moment, Quantum's just packed, and Luna Rosa's only ducked them by about a quarter of a boat length. So if there's any more right shift to come into play, that could be a little bit of advantage to Luna Rosa. At this second, Platoon looks like they're going to face Quantum. So yeah, Platoon wasn't quite crossing and has gone for a leave out of Quantum, which I think means Quantum's going to have to tack off. So shortly we could see losses here for Quantum Racing, who are tacking now. So that'll mean they've just done 3 tacks in the middle of the course, and any ping-ponging is not good. But I don't really see the left playing that well. I don't think it looks my sled has made gains, or Phoenix has made gains out there. And you can see actually Platoon tacking right back with Quantum here. So Platoon clearly wanted the right as well. They were just not ready to duck super hard to get there. And I think we can probably see that even looking at the course. Azura's got a decent right shift as well. So Luna Rosa coming back, and they have made a small gain on Quantum. Luna Rosa forced Quantum to tack, so they were no longer able to cross there. And I think actually Platoon, it doesn't have the leave out anymore. So Platoon easily just going for a duck of those 2 boats. So that was an interesting scenario. I'm not sure what was so bad about Platoon's tack that they went from a leave out to crossing almost a boat length behind Quantum, but it was not a good setup for them.
So what's happened there, Robert? You just seen Platoon now behind.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised because they had a nice cushion at the leeward gate, so it's a sign that something came nicely from the right. Yeah, I think Quantum took that righty to come across, but they had to tack back, and now they probably didn't cross Luna Rosa anymore. Luna Rosa is now controlling Quantum to the left. yeah, so to play for at the top mark now, I think yeah, the game between Sled, Quantum and Luna Rossa now it's quite tight.
Quite tight indeed, and every point, every place is important for Quantum at this stage. As you say, they want to reduce the pressure as much as possible into the last race. Yeah, go on, Jen.
They're getting some extra push by Dolphins again. Honestly, the three Dolphins just playing in the stern wake of Quantum. It might have been what propelled them forward of Platoon. But yeah, you're right. Luna Rossa had them in a controlling position here. We've suddenly got about 5 more knots of breeze. So as we come up to this top of the course, we really are sailing into decent pressure again, about 20 knots of pressure. And as you guys said, is there a setup best for it? Maybe with the J4 earlier. What's funny to me is nobody else switched into a smaller jib. So Quantum still got a full-headed jib, so does Luna Rossa. So either they didn't agree with it, or they didn't see that that's what Azura had done, or maybe they think the bottom of the course is light enough that you sacrifice a touch of speed at the top or a touch of ability to drive easily at the top. But they've all stuck with what they chose on the first upwind.
Yeah, yeah, Jenny. Just on that, I think also because they kept their jibs up on the first run, so to change the jib. It's yeah. quite a difficult job in these conditions to change from a 3 to a 4 in a 9-minute downwind. You know, so once you're there. Yeah, once you're there with your code, you have to finish the race like that.
We saw they had plenty on already at the downwind. So Luna Rossa's just faced Platoon here again, and is coming up in Quantum Racing has actually a slightly better leave out this time on Luna Rossa. They're still about a quarter bowling, half a bowling to leeward, but they're slightly more forward. Actually, they're too much to leeward, so Luna Rossa might be able to live here. They're not going instantly for the tack. They're going to... No, they are going for the tack. They just decided a little bit later. But these two are used to the match racing game, and this is it. Quantum said, you know, the right side ley line's coming up soon, so we'll just try to keep leave outing you so we can get the final leave out a stick on the ley line. And Luna Rossa is doing everything they can to try not to lose too much. But I really think Quantum must be crisp in these tacks. It seems like they're gaining every time. As I say that, though, in this one split, I think Luna Rossa has much better pressure. Quantum in the race course just has slightly, they're not quite in this puff. And this puff line, it's interesting, these puff lines. So it was up to 20 about 2 minutes ago, and now it's probably back down to almost 16 here. And whoever can see it, connect the dots the best, is going to make the biggest gains.
Yeah, Luna Rossa actually just in a light spot there, as indeed are Platoon. Quantum slightly more powered up, moving away from Platoon, just getting towards the inside edge of that right-hand breeze, which we quite often see here in this breeze. And Luna Rossa making the gain. And Luna Rossa at the 5th at the top mark, first time up. Once again moving up through the fleet.
Yeah, Luna Rossa did a magnificent job in this upwind. I mean, they were able to hurt the boats behind and getting phased with the shifts, which is not easy to do. And now
and there they are in controlling position.
Yeah, pretty controlling position. We'll see what's going to happen when Quantum will attack.
But this has been a pretty painful race for Sled in some ways, isn't it? From having been there 3rd at the top mark.
Yeah, Sled went straight
downwind, didn't
it? Jibed late. Well, it looked like the other side was the right choice because Platoon made a big gain on that side. So
you can only really sail against the boats roundabout you, can't you?
Yeah, yeah. It all happens really fast in the downwind. You know, the boats are going pretty quick and create a lot of leverage really quickly. So 5 to 10 degrees of wind shift or a little puff, you know, makes a huge distance.
So breeze does seem to be up and down a little bit, Jen, doesn't it?
Yeah, back in an up phase with the breeze, and it seems like this up phase is a big right shift. So it's it's almost 5-10 degrees up. That's why Platoon sat in the bad air of Luna Rossa for so long instead of tacking out. I think they decided it wasn't worth really any time on port attack. It's been a huge loss for Platoon. They've lost about 2.5 boat lengths to leeward of Luna Rossa, but Luna Rossa making the biggest gains, being in this right ship the longest and pressure, essentially. They just got into it first. And I think when Quantum comes back, it's not going to look good. At least against Luna Rossa, they might have even lost to Platoon here. But Sledsterdam also got in here and then got to the edge of the perfect passage, and the ship is just too good on starboard to sail any further. So they haven't gotten any leverage towards Quantum Racing, so they should be stuck behind. But I think maybe it should be games for the other two over Quantum. Looking up the track, though, it does look like there's still one lefty left. I think Azura's on a better lefty. Platoon has just tacked. There we go. So maybe that is the lefty. Platoon's tacking into it. Quantum's just tacked. So yeah, you could. It's harder to see the breeze line when you're already in the breeze line. I think this next one's come down and it's a left shift, and Quantum actually is going to be the last to gain probably.
Yeah, Quantum at the moment looks very powered up. Looks like they have a lot of breeze on them, and yeah, we'll see what happens on this cross here. It's going to be crucial. I think they look strong on Luna Rossa, you know. Luna Rossa is stuck to leeward, but, you know, they look pretty strong on them.
So Quantum looking at second round the top mark by the looks of things.
Yeah, very smart tactics here by Terry. He went all the way left and, you know, to leeward of those other two boats and got a, yeah, he saw the pressure there and went for it, and it paid.
So looking at Azura then coming into the top mark for the last time, penultimate race of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. And as we said earlier, nothing more that Azura can do other than win this race. They're doing a great job of that just now. We should see Quantum round in second, Jenny.
Yeah, it looks like it. Azura's got their main super eased for this rounding. I mean, the only thing that can happen from here with a lead like that is a massive broach on the downwind. But at the moment, we're getting into enough breeze that is still a possibility. But I'm sure those guys will be looking behind and seeing Quantum race and move up to second, and they'll be bumped with every step. But that's all you can do, and I'm sure that's what Santiago Lague would have told the team beforehand. All you can do is win and just hope the cards play the way they play behind us. And I think it's gone Quantum's way so far. But well, never say never. Something bad can happen to Quantum on the downwind as well. You don't ever know, and when the breeze is up like this, or the crab bots on the race course like the other day, it really is anything can happen. But a nice set here for Azura. There's kites, kites full and drawing beautifully, so they're going to be away with almost a 20 boat length lead before Quantum gets to the top mark.
So in fact, in the end, Quantum have a little bit of daylight between them and Luna Rossa as they come to the top mark. A great beat, Robert, from Terry Hutchison.
Yeah, Terry, they sailed really well this second beat. Looks pretty windy at the top mark now. They still have a nice gap on Luna Rossa, so they can make a good set, you know, control the boat behind. If the boat behind is going to jibe, they can jibe together, and they're going to be, you know, in phase with the boat behind, so should work well for them.
Luna Rossa round in third, Jenny.
Luna Rossa around in third. You can really see, as Robert was just saying, how windy it is at the top when the guys eat their mains and the jibs on east, and they're just ragging the mains hard. But there's opportunities here. I think probably we'll see straight sets for a little while since this last shift was a lefty. And Quantum's got a wrap. Okay, it's come out. It was a small wrap, but a wrap nonetheless. So not a beautiful set on Quantum Racing, but kite is free and flying now. Behind, Luna Rossa moved up to third. Platoon stuck in with fourth place there, and Phoenix got up to fifth. So at moments, Sled was looking good, but they've dropped back into 6, just didn't quite execute at the very top of the race course. And then Allegre rounding in 7th, and Provenza, having had that really tough Spinnaker drop earlier, Provenza deep in 8th. But Luna Rossa did go for the early drive. I don't know that I was expecting that, but they've gone for it. Quantum's gone with the straight set behind a really tight battle between Phoenix and Platoon.
Yeah, Platoon with a straight set,
So far for everyone.
So still some racing left in this run, Robert, isn't there?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like we saw what happened on the previous run. So that's probably why Luna Rossa jibed early. He's looking for that gain at the bottom, coming with a nice pressure from the left side, looking down. And yeah, well, for Azura it's pretty pretty easy now. They jibe with the fleet, and we see what Quantum does, where he jibes. But for the boats behind, they were really still compressed. So yeah, it's going to be exciting all the way.
So Sled also jibe early. Made that gain down, or made the loss down the right side of the last run, the first run. You get a nice shot there, showing the pressure inshore on the left, looking down there. So Jenny, how's Quantum looking down this run? Sorry.
Well, Quantum's just in front of us. I was thinking it looks like Luna Rossa has had their bow out and been planing a lot harder for a lot longer here. In the middle, it feels like we're just in another light patch. There are really these big tough lines that come down, and if you're not in one, it's sort of maybe that they're just on one side or the other. And right now, Quantum's protecting against Luna Rossa, driving over to that side, and probably a decent angle as well on this port jibe, but it doesn't seem like they're nearly as powered up. They're not surfing the waves for very long at all, and they're just hoping that this next puff comes down. But compare them to Sled or Luna Rossa, they just don't have the same speed.
So Platoon just rolling into their jibe with Phoenix on their tail. On board with them at the same time. This is Phoenix in the foreground, just carrying on a little bit further. They've got good pressure. They're just going to stay with it, aren't they?
Yeah. Right now, Phoenix have to look carefully for the boat behind, because if they do a bad jibe, the other boat's on starboard.
Yeah.
He's going to have rights, So you have to pick your time now and make sure you're going to cross the other boat, roll into a good jibe, and really go for it. Because the other boat's looking,
He's soaking a little bit, isn't he?
Yeah, soaking a little bit. It's tough, because the boats like to go at this wind at like 145 true wind angle. So if you try to soak low, you get a lot slower. So you got to keep sailing the boat on its mode, and then wait for the good moment to jibe and go across.
But that's a pretty big lead for Azura, isn't it? In the end.
Impressive lead. I mean, they did everything really well this race. They had a good start. They played the shifts perfectly, and then it's the rich get richer. You don't get into the confusion. Nobody attacks on you. You can pick your spots, and the tendency is to extend. There you go.
Yeah, Phoenix just jibing. Let's see how they fare relative to Allegre, who are on their hip, and Allegre go at the same time. A little bit of acceleration.
Yeah, Allegre had a much better jibe here, and right now is going a lot faster. Has a good chance of rolling on the top of Phoenix.
Phoenix getting going now.
Meanwhile, on the far left of the course, you guys, the moment of truth is that Platoon is across Quantum, I think, here. So I'm not sure on Virtual if it shows them crossing. The cross is coming up in about 10 seconds.
This is why we're relying on you, because we keep losing Quantum on the Virtual. So Keep the info coming.
Copy that. At this exact moment, Platoon is crossing the bow of Quantum by about 2 or 3 boat lengths. So Quantum just struggled a little bit in the light air in the middle. It means Platoon's gotten ahead, but Quantum is holding on for this third. They're just to leeward of Sled at bow forward about the 1 boat length, but Sled made some big gains. I think Sled's now ahead of Luna Rossa. They followed Luna Rossa down that inside of the course, and then they jibed on top when Luna Rossa jibed, and they were able to roll over the top. And Quantum just put themselves in that power position, sort of lured and forward of Sled. But Sled made big gains. It's only about 3 boat lengths back of Quantum, and Platoon was the biggest, really getting up into second. The next cross here is with the 2 boats. You guys are talking about Allegra and Phoenix, and I don't think they'll have Quantum, but they might be in the mix here with Sled and Luna Rossa, which would be interesting. In fact, they might be
changing all the
across.
time, isn't it? It's incredible. Luna Rossa and Quantum round in second and third at the top mark. But certainly gained there on that right side to Phoenix and Allegra, who were watching.
Well, we talked about how there was a left shift up at the top mark, and I liked the straight set, and I think I was surprised when Luna Rossa went for the jibe, but they hadn't really noticed that Quantum had made that big gain on the left. They'd sort of had their own little battle, I think, with Platoon, and they lost on the jibe, early jibe, but Sled gained, so you can't really tell. But at this moment, Allegra and Phoenix are
rolling across the front of Platoon.
Across Quantum, yeah. So Quantum jibing here inside of Allegra. Late on this jibe. I think they actually still have Phoenix, but they don't have Allegra. So this will be interesting. If they have a good jibe, they should be able to affect Phoenix for sure, and maybe affect Allegra. And they had a decent jibe. Platoon now coming back, and maybe Platoon's lost a little bit here. So the battle is on for if Quantum can stay in this second, third, fourth, fifth position, and
anything could
it
happen,
is not easy to call.
One thing certain about this race is Azura coming through the finish line. Yeah, go on, Jen. Azura through in first.
Going for the duck. And it was a big enough duck that they had to blow their kite on Platoon. So Quantum on port attack decided to duck and decided late and didn't lose control of the boat, but blew the kite instead. So big losses there for Quantum. They're now into 5th place. What if Platoon can carry that off when they jibe back, it'll be different.
Azura through the line and watching back up the course to see what happens, particularly focusing on Quantum. See where Quantum come out of this. Allegra and Phoenix get up to second and third, benefiting down that right side down the run. Luna Rossa, remember, at the top mark were third, now dropping to 6th or 7th. I think Platoon probably still gaining down this side, Robert.
Yeah, huge run. Like Allegra came from way behind with a straight set, roll over the top of Phoenix, and then cross Quantum and cross Platoon, which were way ahead. So it looked like there was a lot of patches, a lot of light patches. They picked the right time to jibe, and you know, it's still pretty close here.
It's not over, is it? I think Platoon in a nice position, coming in a little bit hotter from this right side, looking downwind.
Exactly.
It's going to be all about whether they get a gust, get a puff into the finish.
Yeah, Platoon looks like it's pretty loaded.
And these 3 boats have to come down from the left.
But what a recovery from Allegri. I mean, a great job. He was 7 or 8 at the top.
But it's going to be close at this finish. Allegri will come across on starboard. Jenny, you talk us through the finish, and Allegri may probably get second.
Allegra's had some beautiful races this week. They had the play of the day with the port tack start the other day, and with the pin end start the other day, and that almost 7th to 2nd place here was a beautiful moment. I'm sure the guys will be smiling on board. Andy Soriano and Andy Horton are doing a great job sailing well in this downwind, crossing through into 2nd, but behind the battle is really on. It might be Platoon on the far side of the pin end. Quantum, I think, should have Phoenix here, but Quantum is struggling a little bit in Phoenix's bad air. I'm actually not directly on the line, but I think Platoon's got it.
Platoon have got it.
There.
Yeah.
I can't. Platoon has got it. And does Phoenix have Quantum?
Yeah, Phoenix get Quantum.
Maybe it's Phoenix, then Quantum.
So Quantum get.
So they get 5th.
5th. Expensive. So they lose 3 points of that lead. and a lot of that on the last run.
You know, we said the only thing that could happen is wipeouts, but there was a lot more that happened than that. I think every day the boats sail out here. Here's Lunarissa coming through into 7th, and that's a hurtful moment to go from a close 3rd to a deep 7th. Those guys will not be happy just behind us here. Prevets actually made some gains there on Lunarissa crossing the line in for 8th, but I think every day that we sail out here, I fall in love with this race course more and more. I mean, people have talked about how much they like Cascais.
As a commentator.
yeah, but honestly, I mean,
no,
it is shifty and puffy, and the racing is spectacular, and it is not just anything goes. It's amazing.
Poor old Robert's manacled to the chair here. He's desperate to be out there. But it's a fantastic race. Never over till it was over, was it?
Never over till it's over. Really impressed with the last downwind, how many changes of positions we had, and at last Allegri coming flying from the right side, looking down and crossing everybody and getting a solid 2nd, and now, you know, makes the regatta pretty exciting.
It does, as Terry Hutchison said to us last thing yesterday, no lead is too big, and spending a few, well, 3 points I think there. Anyway, Azura winning that race, first place. Allegri coming through for 2nd, Platoon coming through for 3rd, Phoenix well named getting 4th, Quantum Racing ending up 5th, and they were looking at 2nd at the top mark. Sled gets 6th, Luna Rossa 3rd at the top mark get 7th, and Prevezza with that kite problem at the leeward gate come in for 8th, and they were well up the fleet at one point. Anyway, there you go, the standings going into the final race of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. Quantum Racing go in with 3 points of a lead over Azura, Allegri in 3rd on 34 now, Sled also on 34 on 4th, Luna Rossa on 39, Platoon 44, Prevezza 48, Phoenix 49, and Onda quite a few points on the board. But we're learning, Robert, aren't we?
Yeah, no, sure we are. We'll come back for Portals.
Indeed. But meantime, Terry Hutchison debriefing there with Dean. What will he be saying?
Well, I think it's going to be, well, first you have to cool down, you know, there's a lot going on in your mind. So I think after you cross a line like this, you got to, you know, first give a few minutes for the crew to settle, and then you can talk with the coach and with the other crew members about what happened and, you know, what can be done for the next time. But I think they sailed pretty well. I mean, they were a bit unlucky on this one.
Yeah, I'm almost certain. I mean, Terry doesn't look super upset, does he? He is saying, look, we sailed pretty well. There's nothing we can do.
He was pretty conservative. You know, most tacticians would have done the same thing. He was in 2nd, the boat behind jibed. He jibed with them, and they just got light, you know.
Yeah, but we are seeing that in the middle of the course. And he's just debriefing. He'll just speak with James Line, the coach, I'm quite sure. But they're in a pretty reasonable position. You'd rather have a lead going into the final race. Dean looks fairly calm, other than telling the coach boat to get out of the... our TV boat to get out of the way, get out our face at this moment. But anyway, so Robert, thanks very much indeed for joining us. I know that you're going to get packed up and get home a little bit early. A real pleasure to have you in the studio. I'm sure you'll be watching the next race as you go. But anyway, let's take a little bit of a break. The last race is going to be all to play for Quantum Racing with that 3-point lead. Azura on the hunt with that fantastic victory. Join us again for the final race of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. So welcome back to Cascais for the finale, for the showdown of the Rolex TP52 World Championship. Quantum Racing have a 3-point lead over Azura after that fantastic penultimate race. We've got Nick Baird back in the studio after Robert Scheidt was joining us. A few less world titles, Nick, but fantastic job this week. Anyway, Quantum Racing have a 3-point lead. What do you think the strategy is for Terry Hutchison, Dean Barker and co?
Oh, well, there's a couple of things they could choose from, but I'm going to guess that those guys are just going to try and put themselves around the top mark, 3rd or 4th, and just try to hold on and not take anything too risky.
We learned from that last race that there's really there's big holes in the middle of the course, and we saw passing lanes down that run, didn't we?
Yeah, they're sailing inside today, so a lot shiftier, puffier than yesterday.
Let's go out to the water with Jenny Tilloch. Apparently, it's pretty breezy, Jen.
Guys, we are right into it. It's not only breezy, but Quantum Racing is attacking Azura quite hard. We've already had one umpire flag thrown for a starboard port incident just before the start. Quantum is just fully doing everything they can to try to match race this, and we've got 1 minute 14 seconds to go. They just used Azura just used one of the huge VIP hospitality catamaran boats as kind of their way to get out of the way. They sailed around to one side, Quantum sailed around to the other, but this is the battle for the world title, and Quantum has shown that they've got some match racing teeth and claws out, and Azura's finally just cleared their way through the course, and Quantum's let them go.
50 seconds.
It is all on. 50 seconds. The funny part is Quantum's decided they want the left again, so they did finally let Azura go through the pack there. Azura having to go up the course a little towards the boat end side of the line, and I think when it is this windy, I mean, as you said, it's proper windy out here now, 20 knots plus. I don't know if the pin's going to work out as well as it normally would. 25 seconds to go. The Quantum Racing for sure wants the pin. Behind us, I can hear Sled yelling hard. They're yelling up at Phoenix. 10 seconds to go here. Everyone accelerating forward into this breeze on all boats with their J4s. We are calling this Sled Phoenix overlap at the line. Quantum fully going for the power at the pin, and it does still look like the pin's favored. So
nice start from Provenza.
They've got a 2-boat length gap to Provenza. That Provenza doing well. After all, it was a tough race for them before.
So Nick, a pretty solid start from Quantum on that pin end. Managed to push Azura back into the mix in the pre-start. Need to see how Azura come out of this. Azura not looking good off the line, according to Virtual. I think we may have lost the tracker on Azura, but Quantum looking pretty solid there, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the pin end start has been a good one so far this week. We've seen it work several times, and Quantum happy to just stay away from the fleet, go fast here, push Azura back into the middle of the pack there, and force Azura to be, in a lot more challenging position and make it harder on them to make it work.
Good, we're on J4s now, all the way through the fleet, I think.
Yeah, after Azura's massive win in that last race, you'd imagine that all the teams are going to switch over to that sail.
It's a little bit of a waiting game for Quantum relative to Provenza. Provenza sailing very slightly higher, and Quantum have the ability to foot off if they want to.
Yeah, well, Azura wasn't actually the only team that had the J4 up last race, but Provenza was one of those teams that went for the early lower code on the jib, or higher code, I guess, J4 as opposed to the 3. So maybe a little bit more used to it right now as they go up this upwind. They're looking very good.
So Jenny, update us on Azura if you can.
So Azura's just middle of the pack to weather platoon. There's a boat on their stern who I can't see. Possibly it's Allegris. So they're doing really well for having been so unnerved, I think, by Quantum Racing. I was surprised to see that they weren't just ready for that and way deeper in the box, and instead Quantum sort of took them by surprise and pushed them out of the pen. But they got away, they got off clean middle of the line, and it looks like they have what is a relatively decent lane there. They've got Sled to leeward of them, but a couple boat lengths gap, about a 3 boat lengths gap to Sled, and they're doing well on Allegri. So I think position-wise, they might be in a good spot because the starboard angle isn't just enough that Quantum's going to be able to tack on the port. In fact, Provenza's easily holding them off, but Provenza probably can't tack because of Phoenix just behind them. So Azura up the course up the fleet a little bit, actually has a bit more ability to decide when to go. They're only being held out by Allegre, but not really the rest of the pack. Platoon, the very first boat to tack out here, so Platoon was just in a bad spot underneath Phoenix, and they had to go.
So we saw Luna Rossa with a man up the rig just pre-start. Do you know what their problem was?
So Luna Rossa had asked for more time before the next start. They clearly had a problem on board. We don't know what it was. They had all their sails down, their mainsail down, and we think they might have even had 2 men up the rig. When we looked, they were quite far away, so it was hard to tell, but you could see what looked sort of like 2 dark shapes at the top of the rig, and they only just started going up with their mainsail at the 5 minute, at the warning gun. So whatever happened there, they got it sorted somehow. I think if we could see them on the race course, but they're late to the party.
Did lying 7th according to Virtual just now. Balance in the lead is between Provezza and Quantum.
Those 2 boats definitely the best start of the fleet here. You know, Pinnen's been a little bit favored all week, trying to keep the boats from just all going to the right side early. But like Robert was saying in the last race, I mean, the guys with the best starts, boats with the best starts here are going to be in a really strong spot, able to choose when positions, up, you know, choose to be in a controlling position on the fleet. But between Quantum and Azura here, I mean,
Azura's got to attack out from there, aren't they? They're going to get across the right while they can. Right, well, Azura's going to hope for a big right shift here, and they've got to put a few boats in between themselves and Quantum in order to win this race, or win the event. And Quantum just trying to stay close to them. They know that Quantum knows even if Azura beats them in the race, but they're only a point behind, they still win overall. So that's what Quantum is thinking right now, is just stay close to those guys. That's right, there's 9 points between Azura and Allegre, so really only these 2 can win. And there is this battle between Allegre and Sled for 3rd step in the podium, really. Allegre on 34 points, Sled on 34 points. And Quantum tack, having waited for Provezza. Quantum now in a very strong position out in this left side. When it comes to match racing like this at the last race of the event, it's all about the first cross. And you know, the big moment is going to be Azura attacking back on the starboard in a few minutes when they get towards that right side. And if Azura can cross Quantum, then they can maybe do some damage. If Quantum crosses Azura, it's going to be really difficult for Azura to win the event that way. But at the moment, Quantum have the leverage. Well, for now, they're looking great, and we've seen this happen every race, basically. This is a more standard-looking course from what maybe we saw in the last race. You know, the guys on the right, boats on the right, tend to look a little bit behind right away, but they just keep gaining as the upwind plays out. Jenny, how's it looking?
You know, I think it's looking really good for Quantum Racing. I think they definitely let Azura go at the start because they wanted this Pinnen. It has been favored, as we said, and they just had to be patient, wait for everyone to tack off, and then as they tacked over, I mean, we know they have speed. Actually, we know both of those boats have speed in the breeziest conditions. Monday was the most wind we'd seen so far, and Quantum went 2-1 and Azura went 1-2. So those 2 teams coming into what's now maybe going to even be the breeziest race of the whole regatta, they both know they can handle it. And yeah, and I think having that patience to, well, playing the game and going, all right, Terry and Dean know how to match race, let's take it on. And, you know, we know that Azura knows how to match race as well. But I was talking with Miguel on the chief umpire beforehand. He said if it was Vasco on board Azura calling tactics, I'm sure he'd go at them just as hard. But with Santi on board, I'm not sure if he'll go for it. So yeah, I think they were fired up on Quantum and maybe a little bit off kilter on Azura, and it's good to see that speed off for Quantum.
But a great shot there of Quantum, everybody hiking 100%, giving it their all. A pretty painful beat, but a profitable one, I think, for Quantum just now. 2 boats off the left end of the line, Quantum and Provezza leading on the water. Sled more towards the middle of the course.
yeah, you know these two boats are going to be pushing as hard as they can, and it takes a little bit of leadership too to make sure that everybody's out, you know, pushing 100%, and obviously all the sailors want to be winning this race and going as fast as they can. But I'll tell you, hiking is not an easy or exciting thing to do. So
there we go. As the projected points on your leaderboard top left there, Quantum Racing would be 7 points clear if the position stayed the same to the finish line as they are just now. But as we saw in the previous race, anything can happen all the way through to the final run. But Quantum looking pretty dominant in terms of position just now. And Preveza on a solid second. But Preveza have had their occasional process breakdowns, if you like, mechanical breakdowns. We saw in that previous race they got themselves up to third, and then had a problem with the takedown and the kite. So back on board with Platoon. Platoon did not get the start they needed, but they are the masters of the recovery, as much as we've seen in this fleet, particularly downwind, along with Allegri and Phoenix in the previous race. So it seems almost as much as anything stay with the fleet, and the gains can be made downwind. But you have to be prepared to push their risk quite a lot more.
Yeah, well, even when you're behind in fleets like this, the talk on board is basically just stay as close to the guys in front as possible, because you never know when you're gonna get an opportunity to pass, and you have to be ready for that opportunity when it comes.
So in that battle for third in the podium between Sled and Allegri, it's Sled with the upper hand just now. Sled, I think, second overall now for the circuit standings. Remember, this is obviously the Rolex TP52 World Championship, but all the time the points are racking up for the end of the season. We're just over halfway now. Quantum Racing have extended their overall lead, and Sled have moved up to second. Just have a quick look there. There you go. Quantum Racing, I think it was 4 points coming into this regatta. So this regatta has been good for them so far. Sled move up to second. Platoon were equal second, I think, coming here, now dropped to fifth. Sled second, Luna Rossa up to third. So considering how tough their first regatta was, Luna Rossa moving into onto the podium just ahead of Azura. We have seen before that the World Championship, ironically, is the really pivotal event in terms of making points. We saw that previously with Azura. But Quantum Racing and Preveza providing the top 2 places in this race just now. The Sled coming into it, Nick.
Yeah, well, you know, we see it very even with all these guys. I mean, you can see they're just battling on port tack here. All the bows pretty even, and everyone just sort of, you know, Quantum, Preveza hoping that they don't see a right shift. Azura certainly hoping very much for the right shift. And
yeah,
you know, we'll see what happens as they come close to ley line. But the game at that ley line, the game coming into the windward mark is going to be a really interesting one in this race.
Jenny, the balance is between Quantum and Preveza just now, really. Do you see anything, any sign of that right shift over on the right that Luna Rossa are looking for Azura progressively? Platoon?
Yeah, unclear as to whether that right shift paying off down there. We're a little far away. We are on the line of Preveza. They actually just had to sail a tiny bit high for a crab pot in front of them. So there are still crab pots even all the way out here off this race course. But I think Preveza's been doing really well on this upwind. We said that they had the J4 up on last race, and they're used to sailing with it. And it looks like that's the case. I mean, they've been maybe slightly faster than Quantum, although possibly they sailed a bit lower this last little bit as well, so lost a little bit of distance height-wise, that have gained some distance forward. But I think if they were to attack on ley line, I still think maybe Quantum would have a slight lead out.
So if you have any questions during this last race, please post them on our social media channels. We'll do our best to answer them. That right side starting to work a little bit for Luna Rossa, according to Virtual.
This is where it becomes pretty challenging for Quantum and Preveza. These right shifts start to come in, and then they're looking at the ley line game going, there's maybe not a whole lot of spots for them at the top mark. So Quantum and Preveza hoping that they can cross the first few starboard boats and get up to that ley line, but if they can't quite make it, it becomes a really risky game to play.
But I think the evidence in the last race was that they really had to push the risk in this race. There's no conservatism on this course really. On board with Platoon just now. Luna Rossa in lighter breeze for sure, a little bit more upright just now. And obviously feeling the righty coming in now, tacking and crossing Platoon. Platoon will carry on. Let's see how Luna Rossa settle after they come out of this tack, but Platoon, I think, going out to ley line or close to it.
Look at the distances between the boats right now on that top left little box we got there. There's
nothing.
This is
5 meters, I think, isn't it, between the top four? But interesting to see the balance of power changing according to Virtual. Just watching Platoon just almost up to ley line.
It's good to see this overall picture. I mean, Luna Rossa looking good right away when they attack, but maybe just a little bit lighter breeze over there, or maybe not a great tack, and Allegra crossing them, probably going to say that that's going to be true for the next few boats as well.
So Jenny, update us. We're just watching Quantum and Preveza and Phoenix coming across on port, converging with the main group now who have tacked.
Underneath them, it's Azura crossing just barely the bows of Luna Rossa. So the Italian team's in the face-off, but Azura's gotten through, and then Sled is the next. And Sled at the moment thinks they're going to cross Luna Rossa.
Yeah, it looks like they are.
It's going to be an even closer cross than the previous one, but they do have it, and I think both of those boats then will easily cross Platoon. Platoon was a bit further back, about 2 lengths further back. The next boat in their lineup here is Preveza, and actually they're bearing away, so Luna Rossa waving them across. So Luna Rossa wants to get out and clear and then tack. That was an interesting choice to make, but otherwise they didn't want Preveza to hit them if they were trying to get all the way to this left-hand ley line. So
meantime, Sled tacking underneath Azura.
Preveza bearing away for the Sled dock, so they don't have Sled and Azura, which might mean that Quantum also doesn't have Sled and Azura. This is interesting. We're motoring quickly into position here to see if the starboard tackers are holding course or if Quantum's going to have to... Well, Quantum is going to leave out here. So Azura might have a piece of the game after all. Quantum leave-outing Sled. Sled going
what a fantastic race.
Them, but
and Preveza actually in control of that little group once it gets settled.
Well, and Allegra now has Sled, it looks like, from the outside. Allegra is the winner of this whole pack of us here, and that's the battle for the final podium spot. Those two are tied, so it's a who beats who. Whereas, as Nick was saying earlier, for Azura, they need to put 2 boats between themselves and Quantum Racing to actually win this world title, and that is going to be a difficult ask, but we can see there's tons of movement changes on these downwinds and the upwinds, so anything can happen. Right now, Platoon coming back into the mix here. Maybe we'll have made some gains against Preveza because Preveza had to do that very late last-minute duck. Sled, meanwhile, dropping behind Quantum Racing after that leave-out, but they kind of have nowhere to go. They can't tack out easily because Azura's holding them off, so they're going to hang here for a bit longer. And Luna Rossa having really picked to that far left side, ducking Preveza and Quantum out there. They're going to come in very last minute to this top mark.
So we just had a great ley line shot there. Looks like Quantum's nailed it once again, Andy. I mean, these guys...
I mean, Ian Moore's ley lines have been pretty precise. And that's made the difference in several races so far. Moving forward on Azura.
Yeah, perfect spot for them to attack. I mean, a boat length or two further down, downwind, and they wouldn't have been laying this mark, and that could have spelled some serious trouble. But they look like in a really powerful position here.
And they just have enough, don't they?
Yeah.
It's not super tight.
Yeah. So sort of.
You'd have to say that is the hallmarks of a world champion.
Oh, for sure, and a little bit of the stars aligning as well, with Allegra overstanding sort of an unforced error on their part. And if they had nailed ley line, then Quantum would definitely be in a different situation here, maybe not in trouble, as I'm sure they would be capable of getting out of it. But really nice look for them right now, so they're going to be super happy with how that went.
So Jenny, talk us around the mark as Quantum Racing come round the lead of the final race of the World Championship.
Quantum Racing around, yeah, they're looking right behind them down the barrel to the only team that could beat them for this world title, and they've got them in their gas. So for the moment, Quantum's looking proud and happy, but downwind anything can happen. Azura's definitely going to be fighting hard behind Azura. Allegre moved into third. Behind Allegre, Sled in fourth. Those two are battling for third on the podium. Behind them, Provezza, Platoon, Phoenix, and the big losers of that very, very last minute upwind was Luna Rossa. They had gone out to the left and they decided to tack in super late at the mark, and then they just had to sit there head to win while basically the entire starboard fleet went by them and we went by them and nobody looked happy on board. And then I think they even got a little bit stuck in iron. So to add insult to injury, they're coming in about 5-6 boat lengths back because they actually got stuck for a while. So the battle is on the front. It's between Azura and anyone behind them to try to get past Quantum Racing, and otherwise it's between Sled and Allegre for who beats who for that third place, that podium position. And right now Allegre is winning that battle and they're just ahead of Sled. Sled didn't have a great set, and Provezza's had to go high of them to try to avoid behind and actually almost wiped out Provezza. So now Provezza ragging their kite hard, trying to get back under control, but I think that was just virtue of Sled not having a great set.
But fantastic action, as you say. The two battles for the top places: Quantum versus Azura. Quantum have the upper hand, and then Allegra versus Sled. And Allegra have the upper hand just now, but it could not be closer. And a fantastic shot there of Quantum smoking off downwind. Azura giving chase.
Yeah, Azura's going to be pushing the boat. Go ahead, Jenny.
Sorry, we've seen the positions change rapidly back in the pack, but often we see the leader or sometimes the first and second place boats get away and then they're away. And I think Quantum Racing rounding that top mark first instead of, say, fourth is going to feel, I mean, obviously they feel more comfortable, but we were saying it earlier with Robert, the rich get richer on this race course, and this is one of those days where the battle in the back of the pack might really be close, and it actually really looks like it is, but the first and second boats are kind of legging out already. There's already a 5 boat length lead for Azura to third place, and I think every second that they extend from the pack, Quantum Racing's just going to be feeling like they've got their little pinky finger starting to touch the trophy today, maybe if not their whole hand grasping it.
I don't think Terry Hutchison ever thinks like that till he's got his real pinky on the real trophy. And Azura jibing.
Yeah, Azura's going to have to do something special here to get Quantum back in the fleet. I mean, not only do they need to be ahead of them,
they need boats.
They need boats in between, so they need to get ahead first, and then they need to maybe do some match racing moves
Absolutely.
to get them back in the fleet.
From that point of view, I think Quantum were quicker there, and that was as much the reason they bailed out. They realised they were not going to get down to them.
Well, Azura probably just hoping to get a little bit of gain on the other side, get ahead of Quantum. I mean, that's the name of the game for them right now. Azura need to get ahead of this boat and then start making something happen, pushing them back into the fleet if they can. But Quantum going really fast now. They're going to be hard to catch.
Yeah, if you're Quantum right now, it might be a one-and-in scenario. I mean, if they can just pull off one drive, when we talked about how windy it is here and how slow the drives are compared to the straight line speeds that these boats are doing, if you can see that left mark, that right turn out to what's maybe a favored right side, then they're happy to go for it. And actually, it looks like they're going for the jibe right now. I'm not sure if they're ley line, but any more big puffs could take them down to it. And otherwise, it's a pretty easy maneuver just to jibe one final time for the right mark and the left side of the course. So Quantum Racing, I think, might have made a little extension here as there drives into the middle. It felt just a touch light in the middle.
Well, I think that was Allegri we were seeing down way down the far side, was it possibly? Making a bit of a gain down the left side. Oh, maybe not, sorry. We're certainly...
You're right, we have Sled just behind Azura here. So Sled was one of the boats that early jived and has maybe made a gain towards Azura. So I'm not sure where that would put them towards Allegri on the far side. I mean, they for sure want to get the third podium. That'd be 3 thirds in a row if they can pull it off at the last 3 regattas, and the only team probably to do it all 3 times. So I think they've got to be not eyes on Allegri, but doing everything they can to get past them as well. And these are now the 2 boats out on this left side, kind of looking over their right shoulder and thinking, okay, are we gaining on them? Are we gaining on Quantum if we're Azura? Or are we gaining on Allegri if we're Sled? And we won't know that answer until we drive out here. Well, maybe Virtual could tell us. We have a really big pop out here, Andy. Does it look like speed-wise, Azura's going any better than Quantum Racing or anything?
No, I think it's much the same. There was a moment earlier on when Azura looked to be going a little bit quicker. But Quantum have played this pretty safe in terms of angles downwind.
Yeah, for sure. You can even see on the virtual here, Allegri Provezza sitting a little bit lower angle than Azura and those guys up at the top of the fleet. So Quantum going to be happy, really happy with this gain. I mean, maybe even enough separation to sort of just do a loose cover and not have to get super caught up in the tight battles. And the one risk about jibing late is that you might be able to get to ley line, but if Azura come back early and have the starboard tack advantage, then Quantum could be in trouble. But if they clean cross here, then they're going to be looking backwards for the rest of the race. So here comes Azura's jibe, so we'll see what their angle looks like, but Virtual is certainly telling us that Quantum's made a big gain here.
And the way they're moving just now, it's not surprising. They're absolutely smoking. Yeah, you can see them converging just now. So we're just coming to the leeward gate of the final race of the Rolex TP52 World Championship here in Cascais, and Quantum Racing looking to convert a 3-point lead into their 6th world title. Nearest rivals for the title, Azura behind them. Allegri may even get in between the two of them at this gate. It's in the balance, and that battle for third between Allegri and Sled, well, it looks to be going to Andy Soriano and the Allegri team just now. It'll be their first podium of the season as Quantum Racing complete their jibe in front of Azura. So pretty even just now, Nick, between Allegri and Azura.
Yeah, Azura is not going to be very happy with how this is going out, and they're hoping for the gate split on Quantum, and I would imagine you see Quantum either driving and going towards the left-hand gate or attacking right away around this right-hand gate, looking downwind.
Left-hand gate going upwind, I think.
Yeah, just get near them, because they know Azura is going to have to go around the left-hand gate. They won't have room on Allegri, so they'll go around the left-hand gate, left turn. Quantum probably going to see attack very soon after this mark to start covering that side, which puts them in a very, very strong spot on Azura coming back up this upwind.
It's a covering game now.
Wow, so Azura actually making it in front.
Azura, yeah, they were just too close to this mark, I think, to decide to jive and go the other way. It would have been such a big disadvantage to sail extra distance out that way. So instead, they went for the closer move and the easier move, boat handling wise, which really puts them right in the gas of Azura. So it's not, Quantum. So it's not ideal in terms of actually trying to get ahead in the overall race course. But they've got a leg right behind them, and then rounding the far side, Sled is getting the split. So perhaps Sled could still get ahead of a leg around this upwind. On this close side, Platoon has fully gone shrimping with their kite. They are dragging a Spinnaker behind them all the way back to prevent. So that is a disastrous moment for Platoon, who's usually quite crisp on their boat handling. Prevento sailed over their kite, but is sailing forward still. Luna Rossa just coming around, and actually I think Phoenix is tipping their bow inside Luna Rossa, so Phoenix seems to think that they have room, but Platoon's had one with chopping their kite early, and actually Phoenix is having to go and around them as well, so maybe Platoon's kite is still in the water, so that's going to be a tough moment for those guys pulling that in.
Big picture, that is not what Azura want to see, because they need boats, and when boats are slowed at the rounding, their opportunities are minimised now. So looking increasingly good for Quantum Racing.
Yeah, well, Azura doing a nice job lifting off of those guys, just trying to prevent the attack, but here go Quantum crossing before it's too late, so good move on their part. Quantum's got two ways to win this event. I mean, they can stay right next to Azura, or they can just cover the rest of the fleet, because Azura has to put boats in between.
Exactly.
So if Quantum just stay ahead of Allegra's sled, the other guy's pretty far behind. Azura can sail over to this side and win the race all they want, but it doesn't matter. So the Azura is going to have to stay close to Quantum here and try to make something happen. Oh, Platoon there still having trouble with their kite. I mean, it looks a lot less windy on camera than it actually is out there, and it looks pretty windy on camera, so it's really hard work to make these boats go, and all it takes is one thing to twist the wrong way, one block to break, or whatever it is, and the boat just doesn't function correctly. These super high performance boats, very fragile. Easier than you might think for things to go wrong.
For the cover your opponent's strategy. They tacked off into the middle, they waited for Azura to come back, and then they've tacked back onto starboard, so they will choose to hit or not here. And actually Azura's made a small gain out of this one, so Azura just coming in within less than a boat length of Quantum's stern there. Azura going back for the, almost going back for the, going back for the left here, but they slowed their tack for a second. Waited for Quantum's bad air and then tacked through the bad air, and that's what we were talking about yesterday. That's how you make gains of the boat behind. But interestingly, they gained on that first one on the left side, being maybe slightly stronger or just a better tack. So we'll see if they continue to gain.
Yeah, Azura hoping that the left is going to pay for basically the first time in this event. I mean, they're going back here knowing that that right side's better, but they're definitely hoping for a little bit of a left shift. Uh-oh.
I think they're hoping for attacking to
yeah, they're hoping for something to change. They got a lot of work cut out for them right now to win this event. I mean, they've got to get Allegra's sled in front of Quantum and Azura ahead of all of them.
So, question from Paolo on YouTube asking, how many miles is this race, Nick?
Oh, I'm actually not really sure how many miles this race is.
Well, it would be probably a 2.1, 2.2 mile beat, I would guess. Jenny, do you know exactly?
Yeah, I think it is that 2.2, so multiply that by 4, and that's how long it is, about 8.8
So over to you, Nick. 2.2 times 4?
9 miles.
I said 8.8, Andy.
8.8. Call it 9. Anyway, I was always useless at arithmetic, which is why I pass it to. I can do words sometimes, but sums not at all. Anyway, about 8.8 miles as the seagull flies, but with tacks and jibes a little bit more. And in fact, we'll probably get that from the virtual at the end. So hang on, Paolo, to the end, and we'll bring it up on the screen for you special. And a few quick hellos to people that we know that are definitely watching. Doug DeVos, not with us this time, but I'm quite sure he'll be at home and pretty happy with the performance of the Quantum Racing team. Also to Mark Cucci, who we hope is improving by the day, talisman of the team, and hopefully we'll see him before the end of the season. But our best wishes to him, and of course also to Eduardo de Sousa Ramos. We'll see him back in Portals. So that battle between Allegra and Sled still in the balance by the looks of things on virtual, although Allegra do have about 60 metres or so in it, and Allegra have Sled in their sights.
Well, that's just another thing that's playing into Quantum's favor. You know, Allegra, Sled sort of battling it out with each other. More concerned about themselves than maybe they are about the overall season and just passing all the boats that they can and getting the lowest scores. So, you know, those guys maybe focus more on the small picture situation for them in this event. Might make things easier for Quantum to stay ahead of everybody.
It looks at the moment like we have a little bit of a left shift here. I'm not sure if Virtual Eye would show as they're making gains here, but
yeah, a little bit.
I'm intrigued to know. Yeah. I'm surprised to see Quantum hasn't come up for another hit yet, and I think sometimes you do that if you think you're going to gain the way you're going further right, and you'll get into the right shift first and then tack. Sometimes you do that if you actually think your opponent has gained and you're a bit nervous that you wouldn't be able to place or plant a good lead value. Definitely as a starboard boat, you're vulnerable when they're in this position, when they're almost a duck on you, because it means the starboard boat has to leave out and they can mess it up. They're altering the whole time as the boat with rights, whereas the port tack boat just avoids. So it's going to be an interesting scenario when they go together. I mean, of course, if they came together and Azura got ahead, then they would have to luff Quantum, slow them down, not let them set their kite, etc. Do something drastic to try to get the other boats back in play. And if there's team racers watching, you guys know how to kind of bring an opponent in towards the rest of the pack. But on a 52-footer, it's not an easy task anyway, much less the first task of just getting ahead of Quantum. So I think Quantum's thinking, let's just leg it out to this right side, tack once, maybe even on ley line, maybe even over ley line, and just hope that Azura doesn't get a piece of them.
But certainly some comeback from Quantum Racing compared with the World Championships last year, when Terry was talking yesterday about no lead is ever too big. They were going in 2 points behind Platoon into the last race in Scarlino. They had a 7th, if you remember, and Platoon came away with a 2nd, and they lost the world title last year by 7 points to Platoon. Allegra now lying in 3rd place overall for the World Championship, ahead of Sled on countback, I think, isn't it? No, sorry, on 1 point. 1 point of difference. So Allegra need to stay ahead of Sled and hope that Luna Rossa don't come into the.
Oh, it shouldn't matter. Allegra Sled, you know, tied on points now, so it's just whoever beats who.
Completely. So as we were saying,
just tacked. They were about 10 boat lengths or 6 boat lengths back on the stern of Allegra. So Allegra definitely holding on to that 3rd place overall, at least at the moment.
So the first actual World Championship as opposed to Global Championship was in 2008 in Lanzarote, and that was won by Quantum Racing, and I think they've won it 5 times since then. previous to that, there was two global championships before the class was became an official ISAF ratified world class. So Quantum won 2010, 2011, 2014 and 2016 in Mahon. For sure, just a little bit of lefty, a little bit of a lift there for Azura, but it's at this stage it's fairly academic.
Scoreline though, and either one you
no,
just
absolutely
rattled off.
not.
I think
God no.
Scorelines like that any day.
Completely, you know, as I say, when you see how the their ups and downs in Croatia, this is the real deal for Azura. This is what we're known them for over the years, particularly in the stronger breeze. And they will go to Portals, which is actually where the boat lives, I think, with quite a lot more confidence. And where they won.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Jen.
I think Allegra has made some big gains out on that right side, so they're just crossing Quantum stern now, but it looks like they've reeled into almost 2 boat lengths of Quantum, so Allegra might be coming into the mix here with Azura. They might even be ahead of Azura when they get back, which would be an unfortunate sight for the Italian team to see. But yeah, actually they're only just crossing the stern of Quantum now, so maybe even to within a boat length of Quantum Racing at the time. But they're definitely well ahead of Sled, 6, 7, 8 boat lengths ahead of Sled.
Well, see, this is probably where Azura might be regretting not going to that left-hand mark looking downwind, despite the extra maneuver. Right side paying big here, and maybe exactly the gain Allegre made is the one Azura needed to make on Quantum.
Absolutely.
Well, there you see it, indeed.
So Azura passing behind Allegra here, you can see sort of heads starting to come up off the rail, and you know these guys may be a little bit disappointed as they watch Quantums extend their lead pretty heavily here. Only one more leg to go after this rounding.
You never know.
You really don't ever know, and
certainly down these runs anyway. What we've seen the last few days, it's I'm sure Terry Hutchison's not thinking this one's over, but they have a certain amount of confidence.
Well, confidence and complacency are different things here.
And I've never known Terry be complacent.
As we get into this top corner too, it is really blowing the dogs off the teams. It's just that little extra 3 or 4 knots that maybe brings it from 22 to about 25. Maybe even, I'm behind a boat right now. Can I see there? No, I don't think they have a windometer on their instruments here. I can see the other numbers, but I can't see them. I can't see the wind speed, but it's that tiny little bit that kind of gets you going, oh, how's this
I've never heard of a windometer.
Windometer. Well, what would you call it? Wind speed reading?
An anemometer.
Anemometer. But yeah, I think it'll just have everyone thinking really extra hard about being clean and crisp on this downwind. Quantum especially just can't make any errors that are drastic errors. Well, everyone can't make any errors that are drastic errors. Azura's come under the line of Allegra here. Allegra maybe being slightly nice to Azura.
I don't think it's over between Allegri and Azura for sure. Neither sled really, with the breeze we have on this final downwind.
We've seen 100 meters go away very quickly on these downwinds, whether it's picking the correct side or, we've seen kites rip, we've seen big broaches, and breeze is definitely up now. So you're right, Andy. You never know. Things can change.
I just remind you of that, Jenny, of the last race in Porto Cervo, when Quantum had the regatta title in the bag and they had a mechanical problem, managed to save their rig. And next thing that happened was Preveza were leading the regatta, and then they had a problem with the kite shackle. And in the end, I think Ran won that one, and it just all changed within a matter of minutes. Anyway, Quantum do look to have this one signed, sealed and delivered just now. Another good ley line. Azura just a little bit tight. For living in the dirt of Allegra a bit.
Yeah, Quantum has been spot on with these ley lines all week. Allegra there was a little overstood for a while. They had both sails out, and it's windy enough that when the sails ease just a touch, then they're pretty much both ragging hard. So it was really, really bad air for Azura, which means Quantum Racing rounds this top mark with what feels like a commanding lead over their second place in the regatta, third place in this race. Azura, and for sure Quantum won't be looking back at them. They'll be looking back for the bumps on this downwind, just calling every little pressure. The only real thing between them and that world title right now is a bad jibe or a wipeout. So whoever's got the breeze calling duty on board Quantum Racing's got a lot on this downwind to make sure that Dino's on top form and that Chicho's on top form trimming the kite. But behind them, Allegra rounding into second to get, hopefully, their first podium position of the season. They would be finishing third overall if they finish this race in second, or just anywhere ahead of Sled. Behind them, Azura just rounding now for a third place position, and a disappointing third place for the Italians. Of course, they thought maybe they'd be able to do slightly better than this, especially after the last race. They closed so many points on Quantum. And just off their stern, Sled, and I think Sled still knows that nothing's over till it's over. They just got to beat Allegre to get that third place, and anything could happen, so they might be able to on this downwind. Quantum Racing, meanwhile, kite up and filling. Not the best set that they've had, but a good set nonetheless.
Just getting things under control, but Allegra round in second. And Jenny, credit to Allegra. As I said earlier on the regatta, Andy Soriano was the first to commit to a new boat. He made some changes to his setup last year and brought some new crew on board. He's the trimming team, John Gunderson and Andy Hemmings, who were with Ran. They're now at the middle of that boat doing the trimming. And a question coming up: what speed are the boats sailing upwind and downwind? Jenny?
Faster downwind and upwind.
Thanks very much for that.
I think you guys have the exact numbers. So my answer is pretty close to the max of the motorboat that I'm on the downwind. You can hear our engine revving hard, but I'm going to guess it's somewhere like 20 knots. I don't actually know what you guys see, but right now it looks like they are ripping on the downwinds. I mean, this is breeze where you're skipping over the tops of the waves and you're hiking as far in the back of the boat as you can just so you don't plow hard into the next wave. And Quantum seems to have it dialed up there. They're running away with this world title, and it's going to be a good feeling if they cross the line in the lead to win the final race and stamp that lead, but it's definitely not over. So behind them, Allegra, Azura, Sled, Preveza, and then just out the back, it looks like Luna Rosa has rounded in front of Phoenix. So I still don't actually see where Platoons ended up with the kite problems that they had earlier. They're way, way down the course. Yeah, I can see them over near land now, so they're not going to be involved in this play in any way. But in front here, this corner and the jibe call for the ley line to the mark, and then just finding the right spot in the waves and nailing it. And I'm pretty sure Dino could do that, but let's keep an eye out for what happens.
Anyways, to answer the question, I think these boats are averaging 9-10 knots upwind. In this much breeze, probably more like 7-8 in the lighter stuff. And downwind, when they're playing like this, they're going close to the wind speed. So if it's blowing 22 out there, they're probably going 20 knots, 19, 20 knots. But Quantum, I mean, Quantum, one of the faster boats probably. These guys' average speed might be just a tenth of a knot higher. I mean, look at how they've separated low and forward on the fleet ever since the first set there.
They're beautifully set up, just totally stable. Just riding that wave, aren't they?
Azura going for the first jibe, so just trying to make anything happen. You know, it's a roll of the dice. Maybe we can force them into doing something up there, but maybe we can find something on the left. Who knows? They're trying to make something happen because all they can do is get better from here instead of worse. And Quantum responds in kind bike diving to Leeward almost on their line, but much further to Leeward.
Allegri are not really going to separate from Sled, are they?
No, I think Allegri plays the conservative match race here. The only boat they need to worry about is the boat behind them, the light-colored bow, bow number 19, and so they'll be eyes on, and they'll go for a side-mode jibe whenever Sled chooses to jibe. They'll let the two in front battle while the two others battle on their own. Maybe I'm wrong. Allegri has just gone for the jibe themselves, so possibly we're getting towards ley line for the finish.
I think so probably,
they
yes.
can't wait too long to go for the jibe. And then Sled's gone to match them inside, so that's kind of the way that Sled can keep their max leverage to this side and hope for something coming from the shore later on. Not a great jibe for Sled, though. It took a long time to get their kite full, unfortunately, so didn't make any gains on that one.
So Quantum Racing closing the finish line at, well, we reckon somewhere around about 20-something knots. Very, very quick words from our colleagues in Chimbo Vision. They've delivered some fantastic pictures over the course of this week under challenging conditions. So really all credit to them. Fabulous job. And if you look at the technology, how it's changed over recent years, being able to fly drones downwind at 25 knots of boat speed really has made all the difference. As we're sitting alongside Quantum Racing with their title rivals Azura in their pocket. The beautiful scenery of Cascais and the coastline behind. Close between Azura and Allegri now, according to Virtual.
So there we go. A lot of the boats probably driving close to ley line. Doesn't look like a ton of passing lanes on this last downwind. A little bit more separation in the fleet, actually, as we might have expected.
Yeah.
Not good for Azura, good for Quantum.
And more in the kind of more solid afternoon breeze. Certainly that seems to have been a pattern, is that the first race we do tend to have this hole in the middle of the in the course, or holes plural in the middle of the course, the lulls, and the breeze down either side.
Yeah, and one of the things that we haven't really mentioned yet is...
when it comes through stronger with the thermal enhancement later on in the afternoon, then it seems to be a little bit more even.
Right, and one of the things too is, you know, the course is set a little bit further inshore today just to stay out of the big waves and the bigger breeze, knowing that it's going to be a very windy day. So that changes a little bit of things, and maybe why the first race was more spotty on pressure and big changes in lead positions. But now the breeze is filled in nicely, like Andy said, with the thermal coming in. Pretty consistent out there, not as many big passing lanes as there were in the previous race.
So Quantum with their last jibe, I think, should be. This will be their second regatta win of the season, having won off the bat in Šibenik.
Behind Quantum, as you said, it is getting very tight between Azura and Allegri. Azura coming in here on starboard. Santi is waving hard at Allegre. Unclear as to what that waving means. I think he almost tried to wave an across there. But Allegre has jibed it on top instead. So Azura possibly going to be able to crawl out underneath. No, it doesn't look like it. Allegre's gotten their kite fill. A beautiful jibe for Allegre, actually, in fact. So they've gotten their kite filled and flying, but I'm not sure that they'll be able, either of these boats will be able to lay on this jibe. So one more jibe coming up for them. Meanwhile, Quantum is, as you said, sights on the field goal, the goalpost, the winning the final race just to stamp their win on this world title.
Well, those guys are probably going to be very happy with this. I mean, this venue and the breeze that they've seen is going to be, we've seen this all week. The teams with the best teamwork, best boat handling, best speed have been doing very, very well. And with this team getting ready for the America's Cup, I mean, taking this world title, look how happy they are.
Now that is happy Terry Hutchison giving a huge hug. He's delighted. He was really pumped yesterday. And big congratulations to Dean Barker, the helmsman. First world title with Quantum Racing, second regatta win of the season. And Terry looks pretty happy, doesn't he? And he's anyway, it's all on between Azura and Allegra. Azura look like they might just be able to steal second, Jenny.
Yeah, they pulled off that second jibe beautifully. Behind them, Allegra had to hold out outside of them to windward, and they've actually then had to be overstanding this mark, which means they're flogging their kite hard to try not to overstand, but sled is too little too late. So Allegre just manages to get across the line and hit that third place. It was a who beat who with two boats, and the sled crosses the line in fourth. They know that means that they seal their fourth place position in the regatta. So amazingly, the way that those four boats just crossed the line is how this regatta stacked up. Yeah, so Quantum Racing taking the title. Azura second place, Allegre third, and Sled fourth. And I think that's totally fair for that to be how the final race of the day win and the final race of the regatta win. And behind them here, a close battle. Provenza just nipping down, almost sailing by the lead to try to get Luna Rossa right at the end. And I think that does go to Provenza, yeah, but a hairy moment where they didn't actually jibe with the boat. They just dove hard down, and behind them, Phoenix not loving their place, but still they've got Platoon out in the back because Platoon was really shrimping with their kite earlier. So Phoenix doing the same, a quite deep fairway here. Better to do that one last jibe. And
but just
rounding out the first fleet of 7.
Yeah, Jen, just on the last shot we saw of Terry Hutchison getting on the radio, I'm sure, to speak to the coach boat and everyone on land to thank them. As we said earlier on in the day, that this really is a team sport, and Terry thanking all of the Quantum team and supporters here. This World Championship will be as much for them as it is for the guys on the boat, and all the guys at home as well who support them. And there we go. So
team picture.
Platoon, ironically, the world champions last year, still to finish this race. Just shows you the depth and quality in this fleet of the TP52 class, the 52 Super Series. And these guys really are the class act at the moment. So what a world championship it's been. Cascais absolutely delivered brochure conditions, exactly what we came here for. I think probably our average wind speed over the week, Nick, in excess of 15 knots, 16 knots on average, and most days we've seen 20. And Quantum Racing have really excelled in these conditions. Let's have a look at the race results, and Quantum Racing win the last race of the World Championship. Second, Azura, nothing more they could have done really. They needed boats in between them and Quantum. Allegra third, Sled fourth, Provenza fifth, Luna Rossa sixth, Phoenix seventh, and Platoon in eighth. And so the standings, final standings after 9 races at this World Championship. Quantum Racing win their 6th world title. Azura second, only 4 points behind, 10-point gap back to Allegra. Absolute credit to them for their first podium of the first podium of the season. Then Sled in fourth, the first time they've not finished on the podium this season, but very, very good result for them. Then Luna Rossa, a little bit up and down, but in fifth, Platoon sixth, Preveza seventh, Phoenix eighth, and Honda unfortunately missing the last 3 days of this regatta, but they will be back in Portals. But all credit then to Quantum Racing. Jenny, a few words about Quantum, the class act here. As you said, I think on day one, it's been about execution.
It's been absolutely about execution. We said that before the regatta started, that a lot of people think they know how the Cascais race course is played, and it will just be the team who can make the plays happen. And I think the fact that they were winning after day one and then basically have kept the lead the whole way through and stamped it with the final win on the final day, they've been almost flawless. And of course we said Perry never thinks they're flawless, and I think that's the mark of a winning team in many ways, to constantly say we could be better at this, we should be better at that, we're making these tiny mistakes, but they're just making fewer mistakes than everyone else, and that's why they've got what is now their 6th world title, and it was an impressive week for those guys.
And so, say Quantum winning their 6th world title, we go next month to Portals, a completely different scene, a completely different venue, back to relatively light midsummer sea breezes, Jen. I mean, anything could happen there. There's no saying that because Quantum have won 2 regattas this season that they should carry that impetus forward.
You know, I mean, they have not only this world title, they also have the lead of the entire series. So those guys have a lot of things to celebrate tonight. I'm sure it's probably someone's birthday on board as well. That would just be the tip of the iceberg. But as you say, once the fleet gets back into the med, the racing is very different. Different teams can perform well at different venues like that. We've seen Sled perform really well in the past. We've seen, of course, Platoon do well in light air as well. So I think it could be anyone's game there, but we kind of know now there is a formed team to beat with 2 wins out of 3 regattas, and it's going to be a hard ask for anyone else to take the series from them. But at the same point in time, Sled's pretty close. Luna Rossa, we know, just had some major mechanical problems here. One was a crab pot, one was a hydraulic issue, and otherwise they're in the mix. They won the last event, so I'm sure we should assume that they could be in the mix in the next regatta. And Azura, of course, they were fighting hard
Azura
here
on the bounce back, definitely, aren't they?
Azura on the bounce back. I think maybe it took a little while for them to have a tactician who was new to the team step into the footsteps of Vasco Viscoto when he left for Luna Rossa, but I think Santiago Longe has shown why he has multiple Olympic medals, and it's good to see that team finally performing to the caliber that we would like for them to perform. It's still wet and wild out here on the umpire boat, even if the racing's done. The wind is not done for us, but Cascais really delivered what was a stellar week, I think.
Absolutely, Jenny, and as ever, a fantastic job from you on the water. We'll speak again in Portals. Let's have a quick look at the season overalls before we close. But we know that Quantum Racing are on the top of the table. They came in, I think, with a 4-point lead, and it's now 9, I think, isn't it? Come on, Nick. Quantum Racing on 96, Sled on 115, so Sled move up to a clear second. Azura move up to third. They'll be very pleased about that on 125. Luna Rossa on 126. Platoon on 129. So really not a good regatta for them. They were up in second coming here. Then Allegra 133. Phoenix 147, Preveza 163, Honda 184, Gladiator 218, who didn't compete here. They'll be back in Portals, and Paprec on 226, and they'll be back later on in the season. But Nick, just in closing, it's still Quantum Racing with that little bit of a lead, but there's lots of battles going on all the way through the fleet.
Absolutely, and everything, you know, each venue is different, and teams are going to excel in certain places. We saw Quantum do a really good job here in Cascais, the World Championship, in big waves, big breeze. You know, you can see their experience paying off, but maybe in a lighter air, more shifty conditions, you might see a little bit different.
Great job, Nick. Thank you very much for joining us this week. Hopefully you'll come back with us at some point. Thank you all for watching over the course of these World Championships here in Cascais. Join us next month in Puerto Portals in Mallorca in the middle of the summer for the 4th regatta of the season for the 52 Super Series. Thanks for joining us.